Chapter 998, Holy Righteousness. Chapter 998, Holy Righteousness. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. With a sharp crack and a deafening explosion, all the ice encasing Zhuofan turned to pieces before being eroded by the black thunder flame into nothing, including the blue flame within the ice. Zhuofan walked on with his left eye shining black, with not a hair out of place from that ordeal. Turning to the two girls, Zhuofan's face was stoic as he cupped his hands. Ladies shouldn't fight, for I shall be the one to raise my own daughter. I can do without anyone else's help. You actually survived my palm? Oh. Murong Shui gasped in shock. Bailey Yu stared at Zhuofan, filled with curiosity. You sure are something else, not just of insidious mind but of great strength as well. What you just experienced was the ultimate skill of the Murong clan, needing two great world treasures to train, the North Sea's perennial ice crystal and Southern Land's geocentric flame, the coldest of the flames. Combining them results in a mix of fire and water, water and fire, engendering one another in any situation. Under such an attack, the chill seeps into your flesh and freezes your meridians while the fire burns you alive. Anyone else would have been sent to oblivion. Yet you lived through that? Now you have my respect. Since when was I just anyone? Zhuofan glared, then turned to Murong Shui with a frown and cupped hands. Miss Murong, I never knew you were the young miss of the Murong clan in the Southern Lands. I believe that with your brother by your side, there's nothing you'd need help with. Nonetheless, I owe you a favor that I shall repay one day. Now however I shall say farewell. Zhuofan gave another bow and glanced at Qiaoer and Bailey Yu. We're leaving. He was the first to start walking after his short speech, like he wanted to avoid Murong Shui, not wanting to stay a second more if he could help it. I don't think so. Murong Shui shouted, unleashing another palm on his back. In her hand was a scorching coldness so acute, it quickly reached Zhuofan's back. Zhuofan turned around and his Qilin arm glowed scarlet, meeting the palm. He forced Murong Shui 5 steps back from the clash, while he staggered for 4 steps. Bailey Yu raised an eyebrow, the only indication of her shock. First time, Zhuofan used some super skill to get out of his confinement, while this attack was met with brute force and repelled. Her amazement only grew, finding the two of them on equal grounds. In her eyes, no third-layer Radiant Stage cultivator should be able to handle Murong Shui's 5th-layer Soul Harmony stage power. What's this punk using to hide his cultivation? Bailey Yu squinted, content with watching from the sidelines and analyzing Zhuofan. Qiaoer would never move a muscle without Zhuofan's say-so, striking the image of a most sweet child, especially around strangers. Of course, that excluded critical moments, but it was obvious Zhuofan was in no dire need of rescuing. Young Miss. Qiaoer grew tense as she witnessed her young miss moves having no effect. She rushed to her side in worry. Murong Shui waved her off, her icy glare set on Zhuofan, stopping now and then on his Qilin arm. The ice was spreading. Catching her gesture, Zhuofan raised his right hand with a faint smile. Is Miss still planning to hurt me with that palm? I'm afraid Miss is wrong here. This arm of mine fears neither cold nor heat. Miss frozen flames have no effect on me. Zhuofan's right hand jerked and ice broke off, leaving an unmarred skin behind without not so much as a scratch. Murong Shui's eyes shook, her face grave. Young Miss Palm isn't the glacial blaze palm, nor was it any martial art. But young Miss had trained with the North Sea ice crystal and had long since grasped fire and ice's natures, imbuing her every attack with them. Even a stronger adversary would feel his meridians burning and freezing, so how come? Qiaoer was overwhelmed as well as she muttered to herself. Bailey Yu grinned in mockery. It seems to me that our young Miss Murong has found her match. It would have been so much better if he was stronger, making this debacle bearable, but since they're of equal strength, her amazing skill also got countered as well. Gosh, it must have been absolute torture to train in fire and ice so they become one with you, but much good did that do. It's utterly useless, ha. What did young Miss ever do to you? Why do you ridicule her? Qiaoer couldn't stand her young miss being mocked. Murong Shui couldn't care less, only looking into Zhuofan's eyes with a sharp glint. Zhuofan sighed, feeling how his savior was turning out to see him as a bitter enemy. He cupped his hands. Miss Murong, I'm sure you know by now how devious this shrew is. Who in their right mind would hit on her? It's a miracle if she doesn't start toying with others. Why must you then insist on treating me like a criminal? Hey, who are you calling a shrew? Bailey Yu snapped at Zhuofan with an angry glare. Zhuofan only looked at Murong Shui, waiting for her reaction. Judging by those sharp eyes, she was not going to forget this anytime soon, still obsessed with getting rid of Zhuofan today. Hitting on women is a sin but not a capital one. I am not attacking you because of this, I ain't so petty. Then why? Thousands upon thousands of poor souls faded in the central area, all because of you. I won't let this injustice stand. Murong Shue's eyes glinted with killing intent. Zhuofan was puzzled. Central area? But isn't Miss from southern lands at odds with the central area? If you'd still go for revenge, you shouldn't do it in the central area's stead. Miss' reasoning would have been relatable if I had done such an atrocity in the other 3 lands, since we're allies and all. But against the central area, ha ha ha, it's both our enemy. The enemy should meet his end, and while the targets were officials in the central area, why did you have to make a patsy out of Serene Shores Trading? You had them take the fall while you ran away. Thousands of lost souls cry for justice. Such evil can't be left to stand. Oh, I get it. You think they... Zhuofan smiled. Miss must be so bored to hunt me down over some nobodies. But did you ask yourself if I was the one who harmed them? It was their own greed that became their undoing. Let me put it another way. They had been relying on the central area's nobles to start out and should have seen it coming. I only just happened to be passing by when it happened. Murong Shui huffed and nodded. You think I didn't know that? And I'm not doing this for them either. Then why? For the world. I can't let such evil roam the world for a second longer. Taking a deep breath, Murong Shui's gaze was resolute. Serene Shores Trading had only money in their sights and would one day bleed over it, cast out by the 5 lands, no matter how grand it looked from the outside. I was clear on that, but between thriving and decline, there is a process. Ants carry on their lives and so do people regardless. Serene Shores Trading's fate was sad, yes, but it shouldn't have come so soon, nor involve so many countless other lives. This is all on you. Demons plague the world and it's our duty, followers of righteousness, to purge you and uphold these values, regardless of everything. Yesterday you had the greatest company in the central area meet with destruction, causing unrest in the central area. Today you show up in northern lands in cahoots with people no less devious than you. Any who join the devil will be swallowed by the devil in the end. No one can escape, there are no bystanders. Letting you go today might even make me your next victim or my family. No, you must be removed here and now. Zhuofan let out a long and tired sigh, nodding. I see, these are misbeliefs, even looking quite ahead. Yes, with me still breathing, countless lives will fall. Some might see the harm I do to be in their favor, but nothing is to say the same harm won't ever befall on them just as well. It is rare to see someone like Miss having such a strong heart and see the truth. What's rarer is people of Miss foresight. So long as people have the devil in their hearts, I still have grounds to live. Such a shame the 2 of us walk different paths. Farewell. Zhuofan bowed with a solemn look of recognition, putting an end to the gratitude he had for her. He stopped trying to return the favor for he had met holy righteousness, against his demonic ways. Or better yet, she was a warrior who carried such beliefs in her heart, not straying and completely set against demons. Chapter 999, Ardent Sun Sword God. Chapter 999, Ardent Sun Sword God. Proofreader, Papatonks. Murong Shui watched Zhuofan give a heavy bow with full respect and was touched. She could feel his sincerity inside. You are the most upstanding demon among all that I've met. Like I said before, in the carriage, as long as you can turn a new leaf and do good. Impossible. Zhuofan shot her down on the spot. Miss has her own righteous belief and I have my demonic path. We each go our own way with nothing in common. Miss, you're better off not trying to impose your creed on myself. Murong Shui shook and grew angry, snapping at him. Why do you insist on becoming a demon everyone hates? How much evil will you do? Does Miss think that the demonic path is evil? Zhuofan shook his head. Miss, you don't understand us. And since you have no idea of the path I tread, refrain from giving your shallow comments. We all have our beliefs, but it's best not to let them govern us. True righteousness only exists as a goal, while miscultivation has taken you quite close but nowhere near it. As the saying goes, evil never dies so long as a human heart holds it. Murong Shui looked long at him and balled her fists. I know nothing of Sir's demonic path, but want to know why you're willing to be so far gone within it, to cause such harm. Since Sir insists on his demonic ways, I have no choice but to purge you. Murong Shui made a sign and extended her hands. Thousands upon thousands of silver snowflakes whooshed through the air in a violent storm, gathering into sharp icicles and coming down on Zhuofan hard. Not just Zhuofan would suffer from it, but everything in hundreds of miles would be flattened. The townsfolk scrambled out of the town, turning it empty, except for the few people fighting. Heavenly rain. Sky dragon mountain coil. Zhuofan squinted in shock, but then he grinned. A half-a-kilometer-long prismatic dragon appeared into the world, winding around Zhuofan and shielding him from everything. Bailey Yu gasped, "The punk is insane. What's he doing using his soul against the soul harmony expert? Those icicles would skewer his soul and destroy him." All knew this was the dumbest choice, but they refused to believe someone like Zhuofan would make such a fatal mistake. There had to be a trick to it. So everyone watched as a hail of thousands of icicles stabbed at the dragon's soul, leaving big holes in it. The frigid cold seeped into it and froze it stiff, turning it into an ice sculpture packed with holes. It rattled under the heavy winds, inching towards collapse, moments away from crumbling to pieces on the cold hard ground. "Shower, since your dad got nailed, wanna come with me?" Bailey Yu patted Shower's head, pointing at Murong Shui with a teasing smile. "Be sure to remember that broad, since she killed your dad. Once I teach you all I know, you can go and kill her and get revenge, he. Zhuer's brow shook, glaring at her while Murong Shui sighed. "You won't be taking that child anywhere, miss. I said that she'll be under my care." "Humph, you're just trying to stamp her out. My clan would never stoop so low. I'll be sure to raise her well and school her to be sensible. It will be entirely her choice to seek revenge or not." Bailey Yu gave her a cold look. "Anyway, she's not going with her dad's murderer. Do you take me for a 3-year-old, that you're going to take care of her? What of it? It's better than letting her go your vile ways. I'm not talking to you anymore. You're just going to annoy me more." The two returned to fighting over Chower's custody, but the child had enough of their incessant nagging and stuck out her lip. "Why do you yap when my dad's still here? I may agree, but dad won't." The two looked incredulously at Chower, then at the frozen and ventilated dragon soul. "You kidding me? Who can survive their soul ending up like that?" As if to deny the reality in front of them, a laughter echoed. "My daughter knows me best. Miss Murong, I said you don't know the demonic path. Your attack can't even scratch me." Demonic Dragon King, Dragon Soul Variant. The ice dragon sculpture bled black mist as it started swirling all around it, before being sucked back in. The black mist faded and so did the huge dragon, leaving only Zhuofan behind and his ineffable smile, untouched of course. "That was young Miss' strongest attack. How is it possible when it struck his soul even?" Zhuer cried out in shock. Bali Yu reacted with no little amazement at the stunt he pulled. He had upped her entire understanding of the world, surviving despite having his soul injured beyond repair. What kind of cheat was that? Zhuofan clapped and gestured for Chower to come over. She skipped to him with a smile, leaving Murong Shui filled with doubts. Zhuofan took the child's hand and offered Murong Shui one last smile. "Miss Murong, I just wanted to return the favor for saving us, but since you insist on being so against my type, I would have to refrain from staying too close to you either, lest my demonic energy would rub off on you and ruin your illustrious name. Thus I chose to take Miss' attack and let us be square. From now on, Miss walks in the light of day, while myself on the narrow flimsy bridge, never to meet. This is the end of my attachment, goodbye." Zhuofan left with Chower. "Now hold on. What's that supposed to mean? You put your soul and life at risk by taking my attack, then you see it as if you're doing me a favor?" Murong Shui grew anxious, not accepting this outcome at all. She darted for Zhuofan, but not to attack, only to grab him and make him talk sense. "I have always been true in my actions, never asking anything in return regardless of the lives I save. When purging demons, I don't need your permission either. How is that related to your actions? How does that qualify as becoming even? Halt and speak clearly." "Yu, stop her." Zhuofan spoke and Bali Yu smirked with a roll of her eyes. "Why should I?" Zhuofan called once more, knowing she wasn't going to play ball. "The old man, remember? You just keep holding him over my head." Bali Yu's face twitched and huffed in annoyance from being toyed with. "You only know to boss me around. I'll get you for this." While she nagged and whined, she did his bidding, flashing before Murong Shui and stopping her. Murong Shui glared at her and struck with an icy palm. "Move." "Humph, lass, you're quite ignorant thinking you can strike me." Bali Yu smirked and unleashed her huge aura. Murong Shui was flung back and bled from the mouth, but was too shocked to care about that little detail. Genesis stage expert. "Hee hee, prissy girl, now you understand who you're messing with?" Bali Yuyu looked obnoxiously smug with her nose in the air. Your Ian's too early to fight me, humph? Yuyu, cut the chatter and let's go. Zhuo Fan spoke without turning. Bali Yuyu grumbled, her good mood deflated, though she still followed after Zhuo Fan. What are you so cocky about? You're only alive because Patriarch wants it, humph? Bali Yuyu kept ranting behind Zhuo Fan and gnashing her teeth. But then a scorching wind engulfed the town, melting all the snow in a blink across the entire area. Murong Shui lit up in joy. Brother? Southern Land's strongest, ardent sun sword god Murong Lai? Zhuo Fan's brow shook and Bali Yuyu paused as well as her face grew grave for the first time today. Chapter 1000, Clashed. Chapter 1000, Clash. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. The first thing that caught the eye was the bright red warrior robe he wore, fluttering in the wind. As one looked higher, they began to notice that this middle-aged man was built for battle, his eyes sharp and having a stubble instead of a beard. His features only contorted into a savage look as he noticed Murong Shui's wounded state. Shuer, what happened? Clan head, they did this to young miss. Zhuer sprung up now that backup was here and bowed while pointing at Zhuo Fan's group with reproach. Clan head, you have to make them pay for what they did to young miss. Young miss even saved that punk and his son once, yet he only knows how to repay kindness with cruelty, pitting that witch into harming young miss. Clan head, you must do right by young miss. Zhuo Fan shook his head with a wry smile. He just knew Zhuer was nothing but trouble. She had front row seats to the truth of the matter, but was sly enough to do a selective summary on the facts she wanted. She even labeled him a repulsive ingrate, all to get the Murong clan head to fight him in anger. This broad sure knows how to incite hatred. Such a waste of a good demonic talent. Brother, Murong Shui started, wanting to explain everything, but he gestured for her to stop. Glancing at her impatient look, Murong Lai turned to Zhuo Fan. I am Murong Lai from the Murong clan in Southern Lands. I was taking a short rest from my journey to the North Sea shore after being invited, but just a few days ago, word reached me that something happened in the Sun Sea sect, so I came to investigate. May I ask who all of you are and whether or not you have heard of Sun Sea sect's predicament? Bali Yuyu clenched her fists, her eyes sharp with bloodthirst. Murong Lai gave her a smirk, then his finger began to shake. Southern Land's strongest, ardent sun sword god Murong clan head, we finally meet. Zhuo Fan looked at Murong Lai over his shoulder. We're just passing by and aren't aware what might have happened to Sun Sea sect. We're unable to help Murong clan head and ask that you see for yourself. As for today in this town, it was all just a big misunderstanding with your sister, but it's cleared now. You are free to ask her the details and I believe you will come to understand everything. As we're in a bit of a hurry, we'll be leaving. Goodbye. Zhuo Fan walked on with Qiaoer, with Bali Yuyu stepping livelier behind them. Murong Lai raised his voice again. Wait, what has gotten Sir so hasty? I have been around Southern Lands for many years and not many are those who can't speak reason, while the Murong name always values righteousness above all else. As there's an issue between my sister and Sir, I would play the middleman in analyzing the situation. I'll be sure to give my sister a proper punishment if whatever she's done was wrong. But if it were just a misunderstanding, then we can move on and Sir and I can drink to that as friends. Wouldn't that be better? Murong Lai spoke with respect and dignity, like a true leader of his clan. Murong did live up to its name of being fair. Anyone else would have done a 180 on the spot and hung out with the best clan head in Southern Lands for days and days. This was a prime occasion to be moving on up. A shame Zhuo Fan found such practice in his detriment for this particular endeavor, in which subtlety was much prized, to say nothing of Bali Yuyu. Zhuo Fan shook his head in refusal. Murong clan head, I thank you for the offer, but I am needed elsewhere and can't be late. Next time I'm free, I'll be sure to pay the Murong home a visit. All I hope is that clan head wouldn't mind me troubling him for a few days then. As for now, haha, I shall take my leave. Zhuo Fan was getting impatient about making a quick exit. Now hold on, sir, there's still some things I need your help in understanding. Murong Lai's suspicions were raised and he shouted. Zhuo Fan turned a deaf ear, going further away. Murong Lai felt convinced now. They looked too suspicious and may very well turn out to be Central Area spies. So he sprinted straight for them. Is Sir's haste due to guilt, not even able to look me in the eye? Whoosh. He was about to catch up to Zhuo Fan, reaching out his hand, but then a cold palm got in between. Thunder flashed and wind howled as a strong sword wave came at Murong Lai's head. Murong Lai's heart skipped a beat in his chest, having rarely met with people so against him as to unleash such deadly strikes. He had no choice but to rush a counter, in the form of a burning sword from his finger. Bam! Everything shook from the clash, the shockwave of a Sword King level expert turning the town into ruins as it sent dust everywhere. The shockwave was so strong that it blew Murong Shui and Juer away with the dust, falling soon after. Looking up they saw an unfamiliar view, with nothing but broken pieces everywhere. Brother always knows to hold back, so why? Murong Shui cried out in distress, looking ahead and then shuddering in fright. Murong Lai had a solemn gaze in front of the fierce storm, his hand still shaking as lightning crackled along his hand and fingers. In that storm stood Zhuofan holding Qiaoer's hand, with the icy Bali Yuyu covering them in front. Crash! Juer crawled out of some rubble, looking dazed and overwhelmed from the experience. When she noticed her young miss, she rushed over in panic. Young Miss W, what's going on? Why would Clan Head destroy the town? It wasn't him, forced to give more strength than he wished due to meeting such a powerful opponent. Their clash resulted in what we see around us. Murong Shui shuddered, looking at the trio in the distance with a heavy look. The only ones in this world strong enough to contend with my brother are the best in each land, as well as the central area's 9 Sword Kings. But my brother is very familiar with the other land's strongest. Which means this sudden opponent has to be a Sword King. Juer gasped in shock as she stared in Bailey Yuyu's direction with shaky legs. Her heart sank and sweat poured out of her like a waterfall. Young Miss, that was too dangerous, going against a Sword King like that. What if she wanted to kill young Miss? Murong Shui nodded and sighed. Even I didn't think I'd meet a Sword King here. But if she's a Sword King, then what about Gu Yifan? I have traded blows with him, but he lacked the strength a Sword King had, despite using some baffling skill. He's not even in the Genesis stage. So how did he get a Sword King to save his life? Maybe he's a prince. No, the 9 Sword Kings only listen to the invincible sword and sometimes to their prime minister. They'd ignore even their emperor. Murong Shui sank in thought. Just who is Gu Yifan? He killed a third of the Sword Star Empire's officials, so how is it that he is together with a Sword King? Murong Shui did not understand, while Juer looked perplexed at her. But then she exclaimed from shock and fear, oh God, I just talked trash about him and now he'll send the 9 Sword Kings after me. What should I do? Young Miss, I'm too young to die. I told you to not talk without thinking, now look where it got you. Murong Shui glared at her, then shook her head. But you can relax, knowing that the 9 Sword Kings would assassinate you and turn you into a celebrity overnight. Your death will be worth it. I don't want to be famous. I just want to live. Girl, that ship has sailed. Murong Shui shook her head and gave Juer a dumb look. Murong Lai and Bali Yuyu exchanged an attack, thus giving a huge clue to Zhuofan's identity. Murong Lai was now on guard, staring constantly at Zhuofan, while at the same time filled with the same doubts his little sister had. I heard that there's only one woman among the 9 Sword Kings, Bailey Yuyu. But I'm afraid I have yet to learn of your great name, having the frigid Rain Sword King for a guard. You have it all wrong, Murong Clan Head. We're not from the central area, just crossing paths. Please do not jump to conclusions. Zhuofan didn't turn around as he gave a composed smile, or it wouldn't have been me talking to you right now, but that invincible sword geezer. Geezer? Murong Lai was taken aback there. All of the central area's nobility and officials worshipped Invincible Sword, with none even daring to speak bad about him. Not even criminals would show anything less than respect to the patriarch. Yet this guy has no care about all that. Is he not related to the central area? Was there another power besides those obvious experts that can contend with the 9 Sword Kings? Murong Lai was then struck by a crazy thought about Zhuofan, and his suspicion fell as a result. Only Bali Yuyu balled her fists in silent rage. Calling patriarch names with her around was the same as spitting in her face. Chapter 1001, Sacred Weapon Fight. Chapter 1001, Sacred Weapon Fight. Proofreader, Papatonks. Not letting Zhuofan out of his sight, Murong Lai felt very much disturbed, continuing the questioning, as sir is not from central area, who might you be, where do you come from, and what's the purpose of your visit in northern lands? I've already said it. We are just passing by. There's no need to look any further. I am not prone to disrespect anyone like today, but the northern lands are now in a precarious state, giving me no choice but to insist, sir. And if I still refuse? Zhuofan squinted with a thin smile. Murong Lai released his powerful aura, his eyes hard with determination. You'll have to excuse me for detaining you until it's made clear as to who Sir is. Haha, it seems to me that Ardent Sun Sword God is a bit on the conceited side. Zhuofan took Chaoer's hand and kept on walking, his voice casually reaching Bailey Yuyu. I'm leaving with Chaoer. Be sure to catch up later. Murong Lai squinted and acted while shouting, is Sir just going to leave me hanging? Do I mean nothing to you? Whoosh. Bali Yuyu made sure to intercept his attempt, regarding him with a frosty countenance. Murong Lai knew this was coming and the world around him began to boil as endless fires came into being. The harsh and cold northern lands and its fierce snowstorms turned into a blistering volcano in an instant, the searing heat rising high enough to make lava. The ice and snow that had been growing for centuries around the area instantly turned to steam before vanishing altogether. From icy wasteland, the north had become a scorching hell. The world was at Murong Lai's whims. Peak Genesis stage held the power to make all beings in the world unable to escape his grasp. While anyone else would have soiled themselves at such a display, Bali Yuyu wasn't impressed by the best in southern lands. Her icy stare held sparks, just before she released her own awe-inspiring power. Thunder rumbled incessantly while the world took a silvery glow. The blistering hell had now started to rumble heavily, turning into a silvery ocean, with lightning sword energy snaking across, promising extreme destruction at the slightest touch. With the world split in two like this, Murong Shui and Juer gasped. They were sure Bali Yuyu was strong, but to find out she could be on equal grounds with her big brother was a whole new concept to grasp. In an extreme battle of Sword King-level adversaries, no place could offer the slightest amount of cover, not when the world could shift at any second from their clashes. Haha, Miss is a true rarity. You truly have the power to stall me, no wonder he was so confident. We could be fighting for days and there still won't be any result, let alone thinking of following afterward. Looking at the sky split in two from their power, then at the casual Zhuofan making his leave, Murong Lai laughed. But then his smile turned sinister. You're missing something, however. Miss may be my equal in power but won't last 10 moves if I'm serious. Tisish, you sure know how to brag. Bali Yuyu sneered. They say the Murong clan head is wise, but now I see you're nothing but an arrogant man. From our earlier exchange, it's clear that none of us hold the advantage, with a victor coming out only when the situation is dire. But it might take years for that to happen. Now the Murong clan head is so cocky to say that in 10 moves you can best me? Haha, are my skills so weak compared to your clan's special arts? Murong Lai shook his head, giving a vague smile. Miss, there's nothing ordinary about you, having reached a level of power no less than mine. Your clan must have a long legacy with intricate skills. My clan has earned itself a bit of reputation on the outside, but it's not so conceited as to dismiss every other hero out there. So why then the declaration of 10 moves? Bali Yuyu gave him a cruel look of contempt. Murong Lai sighed and shook his head. It should be my fortune to be able to spar for thousands of blows with such a powerful miss. But in this case I can't indulge others' requests in favor of harming the northern lands. I only hope Miss would be kind enough to forge me. Murong Lai gave a slight gesture of respect, then his face hardened. A seething golden fire came from his hand, coalescing into a 2-meter-long burning golden sword. With its appearance the world shifted. The inferno around Murong Lai surged higher and higher, unleashing its power like a torrential flood upon Bali Yuyu's silvery side of the world. It took moments to swallow it whole, even the lightning of sword energy. Whoosh! The world took on scarlet hues, the heat spiking higher and higher, making the very ground hiss under the strain. All the world around them was in Murong Lai's grasp, and with the world growing hotter signified his attacks would be that much stronger. Bali Yuyu's eyes shook and cried, the divine weapon of southern lands, decimating divine sword. Precisely. Murong Lai grinned with confidence. He gave it a light wave and held it before him with a sigh. Miss, forgive me for cutting short our fight, taking out the divine sword and claiming victory. But as I've said, I'd be most happy to entertain Miss on any other occasion. Please forgive me. Murong Shui and Zuer lit up with joy that the clan head won. No matter how strong the woman was, the clan head had a rare divine weapon to help him tip the situation in his favor. Unlike the common spiritual weapons everyone else wielded, a divine weapon would only unleash more power the stronger its user was. That meant that with Murong Lai just holding the decimating sword, his victory was certain. It validated his earlier challenge of defeating Bali Yuyu in 10 moves. Zhuofan wouldn't be going anywhere. Bali Yuyu stared hard at Murong Lai, biting her lip. To match the decimating sword, Patriarch's sundering sword was required. But Patriarch would never let go of his precious, to say nothing of him being nowhere near here. Her loss was set in stone the minute a divine sword was involved. This rotten outcome filled the Sword King with nothing but anger and chagrin. As a fellow practitioner, Murong Lai knew her feelings well and sighed, "Miss, please disregard this encounter and not take it as a loss. I am forced by circumstances." Murong Lai no longer looked at the resentful Bali Yuyu and regarded Zhuo Fan in the distance. "Sir, Miss has already lost. Do you still intend to leave?" "Why, of course. Zhuo Fan never missed a step. She can't beat you, but it's enough to give me plenty of time. Even a snail would get thousands of miles in that period." Murong Lai cocked an eyebrow then mocked, "Stall me? She won't be doing that after 10 moves. Both of you know that." Bali Yuyu's face sank, her fists clenched tight. "If I say she can stall, then that's what she'll do. Don't believe me?" Zhuo Fan gave off an evil smirk. "Murong clan head, earlier you said your clan has a bit of reputation, but won't disparage other experts. The way I see it, you really are conceited, considering everyone beneath you. Do you consider yourself unique for wielding a divine weapon?" Murong Lai's eyebrow shot up and his heart quivered. "You can't possibly mean." "You guessed it. In this fight, the one who slipped up isn't me but you." Zhuo Fan's eyes shone and a black edge rose from his palm. A scarlet sword with black lines soon came into view. Zhuo Fan threw it at Bali Yuyu. "Take it and be sure to enjoy the Murong clan head's fine arts." Chapter 1002, Upheaval. Chapter 1002, Upheaval. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. A black lightning cut the heavens as Bali Yuyu grasped the black sword. Blackness seeped into the scorching world around, giving it eerie hues and vibes. Along with it came creepy sounds like that of demons, fearful and horrifying. Bali Yuyu stared at the humming sword agape. She could feel its power, its spirit, no less the likes of Patriarch's sundering sword and Murong Lai's decimating sword. This was a divine weapon. But which land did it belong to? Why haven't I heard of it before? Was there a strange divine weapon with black lines among the 5 divine weapons? Murong Lai's brow shook in disbelief. The decimating sword in his hand started humming as well. Filled with rage from meeting its archenemy. What's going on with the decimating sword? Looking at the shaking sword in his hand, Murong Lai frowned and his eyes shone. What had the divine weapon so excited? It didn't act like this before, even when meeting other divine weapons. So why now? Zhuo Fan, however, knew the reason. The divine weapon got incensed at the appearance of the demonic sword because it was once the vaulting sword, having changed its looks with the new resident sword spirit. The great 5 sacred weapons had been forged together and now 2 met to find one unrecognizable. Even people would be too shocked for words. Lucky the sword spirits couldn't talk or the vaulting sword would have spat fire. "Who the hell are you, bastard, to rob my brother's home? Where is my brother?" He, 6 feet under. "How did he die?" "Master wiped him out since he didn't listen to reason." And that was how it went. With a creepy smirk, Zhuo Fan tuned into the 2 swords' alternate humming, supplying his own melodramatic script to fit them. No matter how hostile the swords are, their wielders have no clue whatsoever. You have a divine sword now, so don't just stand there, attack. The sword humming had the 2 stunned for a moment and Zhuo Fan's shout pierced their confusion. Bali Yuyu shook and then grinned at the demonic sword, feeling her spirits lifted. She now had the means to give Murong Lai the fight he wanted. With both of us having divine swords, no one can tell the outcome. Bali Yuyu pushed her power through the divine sword and the humming intensified until an energy shot out of its tip and into the clouds above. It was a veritable thunderstorm now, with billowing winds and flashes of silver having replaced the predominant scarlet skies. The lightning and the sword energy mixed, spreading around and ripping apart the red clouds of fire. The world had changed once more in mere seconds. Even though the area wasn't that huge, a third of the fire clouds were gone. This proved Bali Yuyu now had the power to outlive the next 10 strikes. While Murong Lai's dominating position had crumbled with the loss of control over the skies. The 2 wielded divine swords, cutting any chance of making such a battle short. Grinning, Zhuo Fan waved and kept walking off with Chower. "You 2 take your time and have fun. I'll be going now, ha ha ha." Murong Lai's face twitched, furious as he watched Zhuo Fan slip away. Then he turned to his opponent and her evil smile with a sigh. "This is going to take some time." "Yeah, there's no way 10 moves are enough, not even 100, he. Bali Yu beamed, rushing Murong Lai. Clan head, I've yet to use a divine sword in my life, so now that I have an opponent to match, be sure to go for a couple of rounds with me, ha. Curses, now I'm reduced to being a sparring partner. Murong Lai's face fell and sighed despite the excited Bali Yu coming at him in force. Murong Lai knew there was no stopping Zhuo Fan now and didn't feel like fighting. Though Bali Yu found herself with a divine sword for the first time and was too excited not to take it up for a spin or two. One disappointed man and one excited woman clashed in a devastating battle. The world shook, the ground quaked, lightning roiled and an inferno backed the skies. This Sword King level fight now got a boost in the form of divine swords, unleashing an upheaval upon the world around them, as if the end of days was upon this wretched world. Everything ceased to exist wherever the two ended up crossing swords, with plenty of other places ending up wrecked from just their auras. Such a battle had never been witnessed before, especially if one was sensible enough to care for their lives in front of such relentless destruction and onslaught. Murong Shuer and Zhuer scrambled away the instant they knew things were about to go down, not even sparing a glance back at the incredible and equally deadly display of raw power. The explosions alone could deafen them permanently. Though even the speedy escape proved to be slow, as many times they were about to be engulfed in the aftermath of a 1-2 strong clash, and remain here forever as corpses. Zhuo Fan vanished as the smoke and dust grew prevalent, giving Murong Shuer no chance to find him. The battle had the added benefit of wiping his trail, with everyone stuck in finding out just who this mystery man was. Ahead of the billowing smoke stopped a carriage and Zhuo Fan got in with Chower before it went on its way. The guards glanced at Zhuo Fan then at the upheaval outside with shock and doubt. Holy hell, sir, what happened? We just finished our business in Galefrost town and a hail of icicles struck, forcing us to flee. Then just like sir said, the whole town got wrecked and we were worried about your safety. And now the world is going for destruction, with the skies filled with lightning and fire. Nothing to be concerned about, you just drive the carriage. Frigid Rain Sword King is only fighting Murong Lai. Zhuo Fan dismissed his worry with a smile. The others gasped at the news. Ardent Sun Sword God Murong Lai. How on earth did you meet him? What happened? It's nothing, just got in his sights. Zhuo Fan made light of things once more, but then he coughed blood. The others were panicking. Sir. Father, you, Chower was worried. Zhuo Fan eased a breath and slipped a pill in his mouth from his ring. It's fine. I just settled a favor. We can go now. Chower knew the truth and sighed, hugging him in worry. The world around them still shook a lot, the shockwaves from two Sword Kings battling spreading destruction in every direction. Only a carriage pulled by 4 panicking third-level spiritual beasts was left. 10 days later. The wind and snow battered the road, with a sudden person flashing before a speeding carriage, easily slipping inside. Seeing who was back, everyone lit up. Miss Yu, you're finally back. Sir had been worried about you all this time, haha. Worried? Looking at the pale Zhuo Fan, Bali Yu smirked. He's better off looking after himself. He's the one hurt here, judging by that ashen face, right? Zhuo Fan smiled. My soul got a slight wound and will be fine in a month. Tisich idiot. Bali Yu shook her head, mocking him. You just had to use your soul against Murong Shuer, now look where it got you. Of course your soul will be damaged from her attack. Zhuo Fan chuckled. I wanted to return the favor, and the only way to do that was by taking her fatal blow. Chapter 1003, Fooled. Chapter 1003, Fooled. Proofreader, Papatonks. You used to be so shrewd till now, so why are you stupid all of a sudden? Bali Yu mocked him. Weren't you scared she might have just destroyed your soul and body? Haha, this much is nothing to the ordeals I've gone through to get here. Zhuo Fan eased a long breath. When you return the favor, you have to be sincere, giving the other the chance to have a life for the one he had given you. Only this time, my twin souls were too strong for even her full power to destroy. My dragon soul might be hurt, but my domain can absorb all the harm within limit. Anyway, I got my life back. Bali Yu gasped. You're such a weirdo, returning a favor at the cost of your life. In any other situation I could have returned the favor easily, but she and I walked different paths. She not only disdains my help, but even if I could help her it would only smear her beliefs, doing more harm than good. Thus the only choice was a life for a life. Though I still have uses for mine and can't just give it up, happy with just offering the chance for her to take it. It's her problem if she falls short of success, but all debts have been paid. Bali Yu blinked in confusion. That's one fresh outlook you have that I never seen before. Paying debt can be reduced to just finding inner peace. I don't owe anyone and neither does anyone owe me. Breaking the ties that bind is nothing more than a formality, so long as my heart achieves tranquility. True grudges and gratitudes are all about the heart. Why bother haggling over how when the stress is dealt with? Bali Yuyu nodded, then turned solemn. What say I give you a chance to get rid of another tie? Zhuo Fan gave her a long look. What are you up to? What tie are you talking about? Why a favor as great as the heavens themselves? She rushed over to his side and she looked Zhuo Fan right in the eye. What do you think of me, Qian? Shuddering, everyone in the carriage looked at frigid Rain Snow King with dumb looks. What's this Sword King doing, confessing? Curses, she's truly daring, taking initiative like that, unlike any woman I know. Wait, that's just like a Sword King. All eyes were now on Zhuo Fan, dropping obvious hints. Sir, getting on with a Sword King won't just help you but also ourselves immensely. Look how eager she is, so just accept it. While she's a bit wild, she has loads of power as well to cower anyone. Glaring at them to stay out of it, Zhuo Fan looked into Bali Yuyu's hopeful eyes. Miss Yuyu, what are you saying? Just what I meant. What do you usually think of me? Nothing much. Zhuo Fan blurted in a flat tone. Bali Yuyu's face twitched and yanked his clothes. Nothing much? Would you like to try that again? Now Miss Yuyu, let's not get hasty. Sir has always been blunt, so please don't jump to anger. The others noticed the wild woman was about to flip and rushed to placate her. Bali Yuyu paused in thought, then let Zhuo Fan go. She steadied her heart and gave her sweetest smile. Sir Qian, your words are so hurtful. You don't look like a saint and certainly don't act like one either, but you have one redeeming quality, being grateful. You'd even give your life to return another's gratitude. I am a woman who respects men with such traits. Out with it, woman, and don't dawdle. Zhuo Fan huffed. Bali Yuyu's lip twitched in anger and glared at him, her fists clenched, but she managed to get all that frustration out of her with one long breath. Her face maintained the warmth she started with as she judged. What I mean is, Qian, to protect you back in Gale Frost Town, I had to face Murong Lai all by myself. Didn't I save your life? So shouldn't you be grateful? Nope. Why? You're a guard Bailey Yucheng gave me and you just did your duty? How's that anything like saving my life? Zhuo Fan spoke with confidence. Bali Yuyu's heart sank, but she still gave it another try. You caused that mess back in Gale Frost Town, why else would Murong Lai meet us? Since I handled it for you, the least you can do is return the favor. Like I said, you're working for me now, so everything is part of your job description, included but not limited to obedience and protection. How is that a favor? Zhuo Fan looked at her longing eyes as he drawled. Besides, any extra reward I was to give you I already did in Gale Frost Town. You'd have been beaten black and blue by now if it weren't for my divine sword, right? I just saved your reputation and your life. Now ain't that the highest gratitude? But that was obvious, since you couldn't escape otherwise. As you master, anything I give you, if ever, isn't out of gratitude but favor. It is you who should be grateful to me for what's yours is mine as a servant. Booping Bali Yuyu's nose, Zhuo Fan had an evil smile while defining her responsibilities, then asked, Oh right, where's my demonic sword? Why haven't you given it back? Bali Yuyu twisted and placed her hands behind her while shying away in hesitation. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, noticing the sword strapped to her waist, then and held out his hand. Give it here now. I was just going to ask you that, maybe, perhaps I can keep it? Bali Yuyu pleaded shyly. The other's eyes widened in realization. Frigid Rain Sword King, she's been wishy-washy all this time, but not to confess at all. How boring, and you got us all hopeful for nothing. Everyone rolled their eyes and looked elsewhere. Only Zhuo Fan saw her intent from the start and mocked. Keep it? Do you have any idea what this is? You tell me if your patriarch is willing to let you even touch the Sundering Sword. It's because divine swords are so rare that only now I've wielded one for the first time and experienced the power it filled me with. Bali Yuyu looked excited once more. Oh, I also heard there's only 5 divine swords around. How come you have the 6th? Zhuo Fan glanced at her and jeered. Who told you that there's only 5 of them? More like there's only 5 in the secular world. Secular world? You mean there's more divine swords in the world beyond? Of course. Let me tell you, all of these divine swords come from Devil Mountain. Zhuo Fan huffed with a wide grin. Bali Yuyu started, shaken to the core. Devil Mountain made the 5 lands divine swords. Well yes, the masters will make the disciples about to leave Devil Mountain a sword specific to their skill set. The 5 lands' divine swords are nothing but weapons left behind by the ones that perished. Zhuo Fan smacked his lips, weaving a shocking tale of adulation. Bali Yuyu was dumbstruck, needing a long time to react and hold the demonic sword tight to herself while pleading, "Then you can just leave this one to me while you can ask your master to make you another. You think it's that easy? Why would it be called a divine sword if it's so easy to make?" Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes at her. "Who won in Galefrost Town?" "Murong Lai." Bailey Yuyu hesitated, then pouted, "We fought for 8 days but still I couldn't beat him so I left. And since we're about the same, he couldn't stop me nor catch up to me." Zhuo Fan nodded and asked, "Your Murong Lai's equal and could fight him for years. Why did you run after just 8 days?" "How am I his equal? He's been using the decimating sword for 1,000 years while I only just got yours. I couldn't even link with it either. Of course I lost." "Isn't that obvious?" Zhuo Fan shrugged. "The demonic sword was made with me in mind, so of course it's in tune with me. You learned from Bailey Yutian's Sundering Sword, and that's the sword best for you while mine is useless. But Patriarch will never give me the Sundering Sword. While even the unfamiliar divine sword you have is better than having none at all. Sword follows your will, so you need one in tune to your being too. Using a random sword, especially this divine sword, will only hinder your path." Zhuo Fan dismissed her request. "Listen, if you obey me and succeed in the task Devil Mountain gave me, I'll be sure to take you back with me so that Master would make you a divine sword akin to Sundering Sword to fit your nature. Won't that be better than insisting on taking mine?" Bali Yuyu lit up in joy. "Really? Have I ever lied to you?" Zhuo Fan gave his winning smile. Bali Yuyu nodded in joy, then handed over the demonic sword. Zhuo Fan chuckled while tracing his hand over the pitch-black blade. Since the demonic sword was tied to his mind, no one could get its approval without his permission. Or this broad would have run off with it by now instead of wasting time with me. Zhuo Fan made a sign and the demonic sword slipped into his body. He then glanced at the cheerful Bali Yuyu with a hidden smile. Power and fame can blind people so easily, turning even this silly girl into being obsessed with a sword. She not once questioned if divine swords are so easy to make. Besides, when was the last time I've been honest? Chapter 1004, Light's Shadow. Chapter 1004, Light's Shadow. Proofreader, Papatonks. As the carriage rushed along the snowy roads, the mood within was as peaceful as ever. Bali Yuyu hugged the cute and adorable Xiaoer, while Zhuo Fan finally started to grow on her. She exclaimed all of a sudden and said hastily, "Oh, Murong Lai couldn't find my intentions, but he can easily find yours. Maybe he's searching for it right now and gaining on us. Now that he got a feel of my skills, I can't stall him for long. I can only protect myself, so you need to watch out." "Ha, only now you're worried about me? Who would? But with you dead, who knows when I'll ever get the chance to touch such a precious divine sword again." Bali Yuyu went red and whined. Zhuo Fan shook his head, turning to the others. "How far till the next stop?" "Sir, we will be arriving at Sea Cloud Sect in around 4 hours. Go faster." Zhuo Fan smiled as he said. Bali Yuyu's brow shook. "Weren't you listening? Murong Lai must have been looking for you by now. And since he lost our trail, he'll be sure to ask Sea Cloud Sect for help since it's the closest to Galefrost Town. Are you going there to get caught?" "My dear frigid Rainsword King, you think I haven't thought about it as well? Then? Haha, do you know of the Light's Shadow?" Zhuo Fan put on a vague smile, laying down without a care. Bali Yuyu was then left utterly confused. 4 hours later, the carriage went on undisturbed and reached a frozen waterfall where they slowed down and entered a barrier. At the same time, 3 people stood in an opulent hall, the same 3 they just shook off not long ago. Before them stood an old man with an immortal air and white beard, bowing in respect. "Sword God Murong of Southern Lands and Immortal Healer Murong, you honor my sect with your visit. But from what I know, Sir should be with Sea Bright Sect, getting ready with Sir Ouyang to fight Invincible Sword. What wind has brought you here instead?" "It's a long story." Murong Lai sighed. "I had been staying at Sea Bright Sect in preparation for the upcoming storm, but something happened. Northern Land's first line of defense, Sun Sea Sect, had been under attack and called for help. So I volunteered to go. Only to find the sect already in ruins, with the survivors escaping for the Sea Bright Sect. I have thus scouted around for the culprit that did this. Isn't it obvious? The only one who can destroy a Northern Lands sect can only be Invincible Sword's team. As you already know, he has those 9 sword kings under him who can cause such destruction just as well. Yeah, that was my conclusion as well. While I could not take them on by myself, at least by understanding their journey, maybe we could be prepared for the next time, but Murong Lai frowned at the end, filled with hesitation and confusion. The old man urged, "What, did Murong clan head find something else disturbing?" "Precisely." Murong Lai had a dark look on his face. "There's another group that might have come within the northern lands besides invincible swords." The old man shuddered and gasped. "Murong clan head? You mean to tell me there's another power out there that can do away with a northern land sect just as easily as the central area? And that it is now here on our grounds? That's absurd. We all know very well all of the strongest people in the 5 lands. With the central area eyeing us like a starved tiger, the other 4 lands allied together. How can there possibly be a third faction so strong?" I didn't believe it was true either, but having seen it with my own eyes, I must. Murong Lai squinted and sighed. "As I was investigating Sun Sea sect, the trail took me to Galefrost town where I happened to meet my sister in a dispute with an unknown party. I wanted to investigate further, but they were exceptional. A woman among them is as strong as me and wielded a divine weapon unlike any of which the lands knew. We fought for 8 days to a standstill. It might have gone on for years if the divine weapon was a match for her skill." The old man's face twitched and looked graceful. She must be something indeed to fight Murong clan head with a divine weapon to a standstill. However, what makes you so sure they aren't from the central area? Maybe that sword might have been the Sundering Sword. Sect leader Liang, my brother has once met with the Invincible Sword and has seen the Sundering Sword. On top of that, Invincible Sword guards the sword with his life, never giving it to anyone. Murong Shui gave a bow of respect and intervened with sharp eyes. "I've once seen the man within their group, once. He unleashed a river of blood in the central area, making it so that in just 3 days the greatest company, Serene Shores Trading, was destroyed, and the Sword Star Empire to lose close to half their officials. Would someone from the same land resort to such cruelty towards his fellow compatriot?" The old man's brow shook, but hesitated still. "What I hear from you, miss, is that he is from the third faction? But since he struck at the central area, wouldn't that make him a friend?" "No." Murong Shui spoke resolutely. "He is ruthless and cruel, of a twisted mind and insidious cunning. Just because he left the central area in pain does not mean his visit to northern lands bodes well. Maybe he wants northern lands to end up in the same sorry state as the central area, if not worse. You can't let this happen, sect leader Liang." Murong Lai agreed with his sister's judgment. "I've also seen him myself, of steady calm, great talent and sharp mind. His bearing points to anything but average. Not to mention he has a Sword King level expert under him. When he acts, he's bound to make huge waves. We are still in the dark about the purpose of his visit, but it's best to gain control of the situation as soon as possible. We are on the cusp of waging war with Invincible Sword and can't afford anything to disturb us, especially a viper staring us from the back. Murong clan head, you're right, we need to gain control of this as soon as possible." The beard of sect leader Liang shook as he sank in thought, then he cupped his hands. "Then what has brought Murong clan head to my sect? Ask and I shall do all in my power to help." Murong Lai returned the gesture with a smile. "Sect leader Liang is too kind. I've come to ask for a helping hand. I had fought with the woman guard before, giving them time to flee, and because of the scope of destruction, all trails went cold. I alone will find it hard to search through so much ground, but I'm fortunate to find your sect nearby and wish to ask sect leader Liang's help in this endeavor. Please, it's our duty to help. Murong clan head works so hard for the safety of our homeland that you needn't be so polite about it." Sect leader Liang cupped his hands. "What may be their description?" Murong Shui said, "They're a group of 3. The woman among them is very dangerous and needs only to be seen to know their whereabouts. Beside the man, there's also a 7-year-old cute girl, making them easily recognizable." "Haha, then rest easy. My disciples shall roam for thousands of miles and are sure to spot such a conspicuous group very soon. As for the lady's worries, haha, rest assured that we know restraint and not incite anyone that could fight with Murong clan head for 8 days straight. Miss Murong needn't have mentioned, as we would also be weary and keep our distance, haha." Murong Shui smiled and nodded, while Murong Lai looked satisfied with the answer, cupping his hands in respect. The order was soon given and the sect was on the move, with all kinds of exceptional experts filling the skies and leaving the sect to scout the lands. In their haste, they failed to notice the 4 carriages at their gates, and Zhuofan holding Chower as he talked business with a round middle-aged man. Glancing at the swarm of people flying out, Zhuofan felt the need to comment, "Executive Qi, what's going on in the sect? Are you getting ready for war going out in such force?" "How would I know? I didn't get any orders." Putting his own signature into a jade slip and giving it back to Zhuofan, the large horizontally challenged man looked at a flying disciple that passed by. "Hey, what happened? Why the sudden deployment?" Making a hard stop, the man bowed to the fatty. "Executive Qi, sect leader decreed to scout for spies. They've even brought a child." "A child? Like this one?" Zhuofan pointed at Chower. "This is my daughter. Isn't she adorable?" The man gave a curious glance at the fatty, who waved his doubts away and introduced, "Steward Qian, in charge of his clan's supply caravan. You can't be looking for him now, can you? Ha ha ha." Chapter 1005, North Sea Shore. Chapter 1005, North Sea Shore. Proofreader, Papatonks. Probably not. The guy's brow twitched as he looked at the father and daughter bearing bright innocent faces, then at the carriage's guards and sneered. Executive Qi, sect leaders spoke of their dangerous nature, and that there were only 3 of them, along with a woman. He also made us exercise extreme caution to report the minute we see them. As for these 2, haha. Are we that much lacking? Zhuofan's eyes widened, striking his chest to declare, "We're tough as well, how else would we be ferrying goods around the land?" The man's face twitched and nodded. "Yeah, you're mighty tough all right. Well, I got a job to do, so bye." The man was gone. "Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Weren't you after a little girl? Aren't you taking us to your sect leader?" Zhuofan whined from the injustice of it all. The fatty cut him off before he wasted more time. "Steward Qian, they have their duties. You shouldn't bother them and let them get to it." "That won't do at all. Weren't they after some very dangerous folk? I'm tough, you hear. How can they just overlook me? Where's the humanity?" Jerking, Zhuofan grew defiant, turning to Chower's adorable face. "Chower, tell me, isn't Dad strong?" Chower huffed as she left him there and went inside the carriage. The fatty chuckled. "Everyone wants to look tough in front of their daughter, ha." "Yeah, so you really won't check me out?" Zhuofan sighed, looking at the fatty with hope. "Since you think I'm that much of a threat, do a slight checkup at least." The fatty rolled his eyes and cussed. "Dangerous my ass. What could a radiant stage Chen steward possibly do? Besides, what would be the point of this mass deployment if sect leader's target would be right before him? You take those dangerous folks for fools to run right at our base to get caught? But they just said they're looking for a child. There's plenty of them in the sea. You think you're the only one with a daughter? Go shoo and stop messing up my job." The fatty drove him away, having lost his patience. Zhuofan had a long face, taking his guards and leaving. Though before they did, a whiny voice came from a carriage. "Chowa, you gotta believe me. It's not that I'm weak so they aren't checking me out, but that they trust me wholly." The crowd that was gathered from the ruckus he pulled shook their heads at Zhuofan's display. A father must always look grand before his kids. They were soon taken down memory lane, back to their childhood. The people dispersed, but they would not soon forget Zhuofan's carriages. 4 large carriages came out of the barrier and rumbled down the road to their next stop. Not soon after, a person slipped right inside. She had yet to get her new token to prove her cover and couldn't follow inside with the caravan. "How was it? All good?" Baliyu lit up in hope. Zhuofan said, bored. "What do you think? Making such a scene in Sea Cloud sect, I got those disciples to jump to the conclusions I wanted, to take us for nobodies and ignore us. The news is bound to spread fast and Sea Cloud sect will soon turn a blind eye to our presence. Sometimes, the wrong first impression will stay with you for a long time and fool your thinking. Thinking that since we appeared in the Sea Cloud sect, we automatically check out. So no matter how much we speed on our trip and rush things, they would ignore us. Murong Lai could get even more men and still wouldn't help, for when they see us, they are oblivious to the light's shadow." "Oh, you've got skills, fooling Southern Land Sword God in no time at all." Baliyu patted Zhuofan's shoulder, cheering. His face twitched and glared. "No touching words are enough. You know exactly what I can do also." That hit almost burst a vein inside me. Baliyu stuck out her tongue, acting cute, then turned shy with an apologetic look. Zhuofan rolled his eyes, wincing every time he touched his swollen shoulder with a hurt look. All I wanted was to move undetected through northern lands. But then I stumbled into Invincible Sword and barely made it out alive before meeting Ardent Sun Sword God as well. I talked my way out with invincible sword, since his desires are his demons I could leverage, but that Murong clan is too upright, in opposition of my path, not easily swayed. Ardent Sun Sword God has just become a pain in my side. Damn it, those truly righteous and free from desire cultivators just don't fit with my nature. This will make things harder, ugh. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan leaned back with closed eyes. The 4 carriages didn't stop for anything in their journey, making their scheduled stops at the sects and then resuming their trek. 5 months passed by in total before Zhuofan reached his final destination, having gone through 2 more sects, the North Sea Shore Sea Bright sect. Regarding the boundless snow mountain in the distance, Zhuofan sighed, his gaze quivering. Are your tokens ready? Ready? The men shouted with conviction. Only Bali Yuyu smirked at them. Sea Bright sect is one dangerous place. It's packed with experts and leaves me no choice but to stay a bit further this time. Frigid Rain Sword King, that won't be necessary. One guard revealed a familiar token, identical to the ones they have, and smiled. 3 days ago we received your token we requested in that town. Now you're no longer unaccounted for and can come with us. Bali Yuyu was shocked, then her eyes shone. Since it was 3 days ago, why not give it to me then? Sir had me hold on to it to make it a surprise. The guy shrugged and Bali Yuyu skipped a beat as she looked at Zhuofan. Zhuofan grinned, not much of a surprise really. With how Frigid Rain Sword King always acts alone, it was clear you didn't want such a thing. Now I'm unsure if Sword King would be willing to come with us, to walk beside us with this cover. But it seems my worries are unfounded, ha. Humph, who'd ever go with you? I was just concerned about bringing trouble to you and ruining my mission. Does that mean Frigid Rain Sword King doesn't want to come in with us? You don't want the token? Then go ahead, destroy it. I never said that. Why ruin a perfectly good thing anyway? Bali Yuyu rushed to take it and glared at Zhuofan. Zhuofan smiled, his eyes shining, but by taking that token, you are officially part of this team and must obey my orders. Bali Yuyu shook and her grip on the token loosened, but then she gripped it harder, whispering to herself, haven't I been doing it already? Great, now everyone's an official team. Zhuofan turned serious and shouted, so I'll ask again, are everyone's token ready? Ready? Everyone shouted this time, even Bali Yuyu looked eager. She was going to enter one of Northern Land's 5 sects for the first time undercover. While being part of a caravan was a severe step down from a Sword King, she actually treasured the change for some odd reason. Having traveled with Zhuofan and the caravan for so long began to grow on her. Zhuofan looked at them and ordered, towards North Sea Shore. They all nodded and the carriage rumbled uphill for the snowy peak. Chapter 1006, Perfect Couple. Chapter 1006, Perfect Couple. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuofan's team of 4 carriages made a ripple in the air as it entered the barrier, appearing before a vast body of water. Above it were suspended stairs leading to the abodes of immortals. The mountain was nowhere to be seen, replaced by 3 floating islands of great expanse as its only resemblance to the image outside. This was where the strongest sect in the northern lands stood, the North Sea's shores. While deep in the North Sea was the rumored demon of incredible power and Zhuofan's target. The monsters of the sea were mere spiritual beasts, with only this demon able to speak like a human. That was why people called it Sea Demon. Only Zhuofan here knew the Sea Demon was in fact one of the 5 great sacred beasts, the only one that could save young Sanzi, the heaven-sealing CAO. Staring at the great rolling expanse of water, Zhuofan's eyes shook and his fists clenched. Qiaoa looked excited as well, finally able to rescue her big brother. Whoosh! Black figures suddenly dropped before the team, numbering in the dozens. The leader was an old man with a black and white mustache, presenting them a most kind smile as he greeted, "Thank you, Qian clan, for the trouble you went through delivering these goods. I am Executive Dai Qianshou of the Sea Bright sect." Dai Qianshou? Money trouble he. Bali Yuyu couldn't help herself and giggled at his name, whispering to Zhuofan, "Qian, you finally met your half. You dislike money and he's in need of money, a match made in heaven. You're destined to make the perfect couple, hi hi hi." Smiley face, she's making fun of both of their names, making a pun out of it. The others chuckled as well. Glaring at her, Zhuofan gave a wry smile and returned the gesture. "Executive Dai, I am but a steward in the Qian clan, Qian Fan. This is the proof of all the sects we've passed." Zhuofan presented a jade slip with both hands. The executive wasn't haughty in the least, taking it with equal respect and a smile. Yes, these are the signatures of the 4 sect's executives. Sir is beyond reproach, but the others. Hurry up and present your tokens to the executive. Zhuofan snapped at them to obey, making them flustered as they rushed to follow his orders. Only Bali Yuyu was beyond casual as she took it out and threw it to the man with a roll of her eyes. Glaring at her, Zhuofan could only apologize in her stead. Executive Dai, she just went through menopause and it's still unstable. Screw you? Bali Yuyu hissed under her breath. Executive Dai gave a careless wave, being quite easygoing. He checked their tokens and smiled. You make for a perfect couple, Steward Qian, braving through so many dangers through the now precarious northern lands to send us these goods. That's very noble of you. Perfect couple? Zhuofan looked stumped. Did I say something wrong? The old man scanned the jade slip in his hand again before looking at Zhuofan. 3 days ago we received an update on the Chen clan's roster that the caravan sending us the goods will be led by Steward Chen Fan and his wife, Chen Yu. Your signatures also check out. Is there perhaps a problem? Dong. Zhuofan froze on the spot at the heavy blow to his mind. He made a weird face as he tried to keep his calm. You mean Chen Fan and Chen Yu, husband and wife, are escorting goods? Bali Yuyu was also stupefied, looking at the old man with a dumb look. When reality hit her at long last, she gave Zhuofan a seething look with a red face as she whisper-shouted, You dare use me like that, punk? As if, I'm as clueless about this as you are, alright? Lies. Aren't they just doing your bidding? Yeah, they do, but this time. Zhuofan's mouth twitched, looking off there, then turned to the rest with an insidious glint in his eyes. Zhuofan had principles. When it came to taking a wife, he would never do it on a whim, even if it was all fake. Just like how he didn't do it with Shangguan Qingyent. But this time, at this critical moment, he found himself stuck with this cover, putting him at an impasse on what he should do next. If he did go with it, his heart would be totally against it, while refusing it, then his cover was blown. He was in a real pickle. The caravan guards saw Zhuofan and Bali Yuyu looking dark there and were tense as they lowered their heads. Executive Dai frowned. Why aren't you married? The two were silent, with neither willing to admit it. Executive Dai was perplexed, feeling the odd situation and raising his suspicion. He withdrew slowly and was about to signal for his men to seize them. Everything was about to fall to ruin. Even with Bali Yuyu there to help, it wouldn't matter much in the strongest sect in northern lands. Not only Ouyang Lingtian lived here, but it also held the strongest experts in these parts. Bali Yuyu had no way of fending so many attackers. She would end up defeated for sure. In this dire situation, neither Zhuofan nor Bali Yuyu were willing to compromise and save the day, all because their hearts were against it. Dai Chencho's suspicion only grew, his hand close to signaling the men and ruining everything they worked for. The guards were shivering at the side, looking at the two with pleading eyes. Please just save us. Is it that bad to fake being married? It's not a hanging, so why? If you keep silent any longer, we're really going to get the noose? They were almost wetting themselves as they saw Executive Dai about to give the damning order. Dad, Mom, I'm hungry. Are you going to keep arguing until I starve? Qiaoer jumped in with her adorable voice, looking annoyed and grumbling at the two. The guards lit up with newfound hope. One of them rushed to Qiaoer's side and carried her over to Executive Dai with a smile. Executive Dai, how can they be anything but husband and wife? Look, they even have a child. Then what are they doing? Dai Chencho asked in suspicion. The guard laughed and sighed. It all started over nothing and escalated, with Steward Chen even threatening to leave her. Now their fighting still hasn't been settled. Oh, I see. Executive Dai gave a knowing nod and his suspicion was washed away. He smiled at Zhuofan. Steward Chen, it takes years to accept someone and decades to fully be at peace with one's partner. Why must you insist over trivialities? Zhuofan glanced at Bali Yuyu and said, She's not my wife. Well, you're not my man either. Bali Yuyu glared back. The two spoke the truth, but Dai Chencho heard it as nothing more than a lover's spat. So he shook his head and waved, You need to stop fighting, especially before a child, ha. It wouldn't help her. Since you've all been weary from your long journey here, we've got a place ready for you to rest for a few days. You're welcome to tour our sect if you want. The North Sea shore is magnificent, with people from northern lands hardly having the chance to see its beauty. You won't find this anywhere else. Thank you for everything, Executive Dai. Zhuofan's eyes roamed around and settled on a grunt, recalling his true objective and giving the man a bow. Dai Qianqiu smiled and had someone lead the way to their stay. One figure suddenly appeared just then, whispering to Dai Qianqiu. His face changed and blocked Zhuofan's way. "Steward Qin, sect leader requests myself and Sir's presence." Zhuofan and the others' faces fell. What would the high and mighty sect leader of the Sea Bright sect want to do with a nobody steward? Were their covers blown? Zhuofan looked at Bali Yuyu, who had a cold gaze, with murder slowly filling her eyes. Chapter 1007, Ling Yuntian. Chapter 1007, Ling Yuntian. Proofreader, Papatonks. Don't make any hasty decisions. I'll go see what's going on. Zhuofan squinted and took a deep breath as he made a decision, sending that message to his team. The others flinched and nodded. Bali Yuyu's eyes darted around, sizing everything before nodding at last. A blown cover means we'd have been detained by now with far more experts surrounding us. Not to mention they'd never ask for you to speak. It's too early to tell what is going on. While also not grounded enough to rule out the possibility that Murong Lai wants to look into us. So you need to get ready to act at any second. I'll leave Chow'er in your care. Zhuofan's eyes shone, his face grave. What about you? I have my own way of escape, don't worry. Bali Yuyu asked quickly, at which Zhuofan replied casually. I'm going. They watched tensely as Zhuofan flew with Dai Qianqiu towards the highest floating island while a disciple took them to their rooms. An hour later, Zhuofan and Dai Qianqiu were standing before a huge gate, with hundreds of disciples standing guard on each side. The gate reached 30 meters in height, with 9,999 copper insertions in the shape of a yin-yang symbol to show the natural order of the world. Dai Qianqiu regarded the broad gate and bowed. Zhuofan figured it had to be a custom, giving respect to the sect. A traveler stopping by needs to show respect as well and might even leave a good impression. So Zhuofan did the same, standing straight after doing it 3 times. Dai Qianqiu gave an approving nod, showing a sincere nod as he spoke with reverence at the gate. Sect leader, Steward Qin has arrived. Enter. Rumble. With a loud rumble, the gate cracked open. The 2 rows of disciples bowed at once, all shouting at Zhuofan, please. Steward Qin after you? Dai Qianqiu smiled and gestured not unlike the disciples. Zhuofan sighed at this huge welcome. This is the Sea Bright sect, the strongest of the sects in northern lands. Yet the bigger they are, the more aware they are of giving respect and receiving it, instead of acting all cocky. He was but a merchant, yet the Sea Bright sect's sect leader showed such deference. This was proof enough to label the Sea Bright sect as reasonable and righteous as Murong Lai. That also meant they would never act unless the proof was conclusive. Which works great for me. While meeting with an impulsive sect, they only needed to believe he was bad news and he was finished. Things aren't for the worst yet. Zhuofan speculated as he smiled at Dai Qianqiu and walked forward with the executive behind. As he climbed the 999 steps up, the disciples always set their eyes on him, yet none held the slightest contempt. This was the way Sea Bright sect welcomed guests, regardless of profession. Zhuofan saw a grand hall and 3 people waiting for him. Only with one of them he was acquainted, Executive Chow from the Sun Sea sect. Zhuofan had a clear picture of what this was all about. Haha, so it's him. It's nothing then. And here I thought ardent Sun Sword God was going to welcome me. God, that gave me a fright. Sect leader, he's the one that made Sun Sea sect suffer so much. He must be a Central Area spy. Executive Chow instantly pointed fingers and accused Zhuofan the moment he appeared. He was boiling with rage and murder, wanting to spill his blood then and there. Zhuofan ignored him and his whining, walking before the 3 and bowing. A middle-aged man spoke to an elder next to him. Sect leader Ling, it seems the boy is pleading guilty under Executive Chow's accusations. We need to take him back for thorough questioning and appease the thousands of lost souls of my sect. Steward Qin, I take it. I am the sect leader of the Sun Bright sect, Ling Yuntian. The old man gave Zhuofan a long look but didn't let the middle-aged man's words get to him, or stop the greeting. Zhuofan faked shock and bowed as well. Sect leader Ling said, does Steward Qin have anything to say regarding Executive Chow's accusations? Accusations? Zhuofan sneered, I have no idea of them. What are they? You dare lie to our faces? Executive Chow's accusations are clear to everyone here. You have nothing to say for yourself that can absolve you and we all know it. Yet you dare act oblivious? Sect leader Ling he. The middle-aged man shouted, snapping at Zhuofan with his finger, but Zhuo Fan regarded him calmly and saluted Ling Yuntian. Sect leader Ling made the introductions. Steward Qian, he is Sun Si sect leader, Bu Xingyun. You have delivered goods to Sun Si sect but didn't meet with sect leader Bu, so you don't know him, ha ha ha. Oh, sect leader Bu, greetings, ha ha. Zhuo Fan saluted at once. Sect leader Ling, there's a misunderstanding here that I wish to clarify. Executive Chao is someone I have met in Sun Si sect, but I don't know when he came to your sect. When I have just arrived here, I've only been hearing Executive Chao's curses and it got me completely confused. I wish for nothing more than to understand why this happened. But since this is Sir's home and I am a mere guest, it is proper manners to see the sect leader and not start arguing. Zhuo Fan put on a sinister smile, mocking Executive Chao. I may be a mere merchant, but I am educated enough not to start a fight in another's home. At the very least, I'll need sect leader's approval first to prove my innocence and shed light. Acting like a mangy cur in the master's home no less, won't that make him disrespectful? I may not be well read, but my parents had at least taught me proper respect. What? Executive Chao choked, looking red as a crab. Zhuo Fan was talking with the sect leader but kept poking holes in his attitude. And the problem was that it was all true. It was sect leader Ling's home, yet he started shouting at Zhuo Fan. It mattered not if Zhuo Fan was a spy, not when he was dissatisfied with the Sea Bright sect. Unlike Zhuo Fan, he gave no respect to the sect leader. And since the sect leader wasn't some nobody but the sect leader of the strongest sect in northern lands, the same man he was relying on as well. Executive Chao's face twitched hard, looking pained as he regarded Bu Xingyun's dark face. Sect leader, I didn't mean. You're talking to the wrong person. Bu Xingyun spoke coldly. Executive Chao bowed to Ling Yuntian. Sect leader Ling, forgive me. Please don't believe this man's nonsense. How could I ever disregard the head of the sects in northern lands, Sea Bright sect? I was just caught in the moment. Fine, Executive Chao is an impulsive man. I understand. The Ling Yuntian dismissed his worries as he smiled. Zhuo Fan cocked an eyebrow. The old guy really is kind to not even be irked by that. Sea Bright sect's name as the best sect in northern lands isn't unfounded after all. Just look at their sect leader. If the head was weak, the rest would crumble. With the sect leader so collected, it's only natural that the Sea Bright sect became the one to lead the other 5 sects in northern lands. Zhuo Fan stared into those kind eyes and felt unease, having failed to stir his emotions and lead the talks. The danger comes not from Executive Chao nor Bu Xingyun, but sect leader Ling. Chapter 1008, Leading. Chapter 1008, Leading. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bu Xingyun never let Zhuo Fan out of his sight, staring with a murderous gaze and clenched fists. He only listened to Executive Chao's account and brought him here to recognize the culprit to use some excuse to make it better for his sect. The 5 sects of northern lands were doing fine so far, so how come you just had to poke a central area Sword King to get your home wasted? Was it bad leadership or no leadership? Just hearing it would irk his mood. There was also the matter of reputation, which had received a serious blow. Only he had his sect, which became ruined under his lead and would be lauded as a laughingstock for years to come, if not eternity. He had to think of something, anything. Something along the lines of giving himself for the good of northern lands, fighting tooth and nail with central area spies, only to be betrayed and ending up in this sorry state. Now the joke would catch a heroic vibe that would turn jeers into calls of respect, and it would be the grounds for extra support in recovering as well. This was the script he wanted to play. Catch the spy, get the reward, and restore the sect to shut everyone up. Though it seemed that someone was improvising in his little act, shifting the focus of the play. Executive Chao just spoke up and Zhuo Fan mocked him for disrespecting Sea Bright sect, having no manners. The problem was, it affected him as well by association since he was the sect leader. As he also started ranting without Ling Yuntian's accord, but Ling Yuntian was nice enough to keep mute about it. But he already tasted his disrespect and felt their unkind attitude for Sea Bright sect. You can't follow simple etiquette as a sect leader and executive while a mere merchant can? I can only assume from this that you got destroyed for very good reasons, provoking the other into attacking with your arrogance. Loose tongues end lives. He not only gained nothing but lost instead, falling out of favor with the big boss. Bu Xingyun's anger surged as consequence, from seeing Zhuo Fan as a pawn to use in his favor to hating his guts. He glared hard at Zhuo Fan, then spoke to Ling Yuntian. Sect leader Ling, my executive has gotten ahead of himself and I'll be sure to address this back at the sect. But Steward Qian has yet to answer his questions. Would it be possible for sect leader Ling to help? Haha, that is why we're here. Ling Yuntian laughed and still spoke on a kind tone while saluting. Steward Qian is such a courteous man. Having just arrived at my sect, I should play the host and honor your, but some problems have appeared that need Steward Qian's input. I can only ask that you forgive my insistence. Zhuo Fan smiled. You're too kind, sect leader Ling. It's my honor to be of any help to you. Yes, sect leader, Steward Qian has bowed alongside me before the great gates. He is a respectful man and is sure to not mind this slight inconvenience. Dai Qianshou at the side bowed and said. Anyone else would become suspicious. What's his relationship with Qian Fan? Why is he taking his side? But he wasn't speaking for Qian Fan at all, reporting instead to sect leader Ling of his equally respectful demeanor that he reciprocated with at everyone's salute. Just because Zhuo Fan had bowed with Dai Qianshou before the gates, Dai Qianshou spoke up so that sect leader would keep this in mind. Otherwise, with Qian Fan being a mere merchant, the others could have easily pushed him for answers. Now however Ling Yuntian was present as well and Bu Xingyun couldn't use force. Zhuo Fan's act was a minor one, yet the effect was grand, gaining Bright Sect's protection. This became evident with Ling Yuntian's following words, Steward Qian is thoughtful. Bu Xingyun's face twitched, looking at the three of them with a sigh. Knowing force wouldn't help him here, he would have to use guile, giving Executive Chow a look. The executive caught on and started shouting, Qian, I want an honest answer. When the Sun Sea sect was destroyed, did you draw that witch, Frigid Rainsword King, over? Frigid Rainsword King? Zhuo Fan looked shocked. I never met her, so how could I've drew her? Executive Chow sneered, you're still lying? Then answer this. Didn't you say that when you were delivering goods to our sect that a Central Area spy was following you? Yes. Then you asked me to go grab the spy, right? I guess. Zhuo Fan muttered with a frown and a hesitant nod. Pa. Executive Chow clapped in success. Yes, that's right. We went to capture the spy, but it turned out to be Frigid Rainsword King from the Central Area. This led her to attack our sect, slaughtering everyone. If you didn't draw the witch, who did? Sect leader Ling, everything's clear now. I ask that you seize this spy and find out what else has he been leaking through thorough interrogation. Guard, arrest this man. Throw him in prison and activate the barrier so he can't escape. Bu Xingyun shouted eagerly. Dai Qianshou cleared his voice with a bow. Sect leader Bu, you're in Bright Sect. Oh right, it's sect leader Ling's right to issue this order. Forgive me, I forgot myself, sect leader Ling. Waking up from his blunder, Bu Xingyun apologized. Ling Yuntian gave a careless wave, but his words seemed to say otherwise. Sect leader Bu, we all make mistakes and slip, but as sect leaders, we must remember that while being hasty is one thing and the value of life is another. I only hope that you will work to correct your impulses. Bu Xingyun shuddered, knowing Ling Yuntian was chiding him, but was forced to nod. As Executive Chow gave his version, it should now be Steward Qian's turn. Steward Qian has shown hesitation just now, so you must have a different opinion, haha. Ling Yuntian ignored him and gave Zhuo Fan the right to speak with a bright smile, and the chance to turn it around. Bu Xingyun's face sank but was helpless. Zhuo Fan bowed and looked grateful as he smiled at the smug Executive Chow. Executive Chow was right, but there are a few parts one feel that were left out that leaves room for interpretation. Allow me to fill the gaps. Executive Chow, would you kindly answer me whether or not I was the one who approached you about the spies when I delivered the goods? Have I asked Executive Chow explicitly to go capture the spy? Well. Executive Chow hesitated and Bu Xingyun glared. Spit it out. Did you not insist that he led the witch to us? Why are you stammering then? Yes. Sect leader, when you wanted to learn about this very quickly, I was being concise, thus leaving some random details out. Random? Like? Bu Xingyun glared at him. Executive Chow's lips quivered, not knowing how to say it. Zhuo Fan laughed and bowed. Sect leader Bu, it's better for me to tell what happened in detail. The fault lies with my caravan. On that day, the Central Area spy had set her eyes on us and destroyed one of our carriages. So when we arrived at your sect, we only delivered half. We explained what happened and asked for extra days to bring the rest. Is that right? Bu Xingyun turned to his executive. Executive Chow nodded. Yes, that's exactly right. In other words, isn't it their fault for failing to guard the goods? Bu Xingyun asked with doubt. Scratching his head, Executive Chow gave an awkward nod. Zhuo Fan interjected. May I continue? Go ahead. Bu Xingyun found no issue and waved at him to resume. But this in fact helped Zhuo Fan in leaving his own tiny but crucial detail. Executive Chow then permitted us to come back with the rest of the goods and we left. Later I heard a huge ruckus and the world shaking with lightning covering the skies. There were shouts as well, but we were so scared we chose to flee at once. Wait, that's not how it went. How then? I couldn't just let you leave when you only gave us half the goods. It's you who said that you have someone following you and that catching him will earn us a great commendation. Did you not say that these goods are nothing compared to that? Executive Chow rushed to ask. Zhuo Fan nodded after a pause. Yes, and then? Then I let you go. Since we couldn't give you the goods, how come you let us go? What nonsense. What's more important, some lost goods or catching the spy? I let you go to draw him out and then grab him. Did you then? Half the credit is mine. As if, what credit is there to share when up against the Sword King? More like share a jail cell. Oh, Executive Chow grunted to a stop, realizing his slip. Zhuo Fan smirked. Hear that? We were bait. They went to grab the spy. How did we go from being on the same side to becoming a Central Area spy? Chapter 1009, Blunder. Chapter 1009, Blunder. Proofreader, Papatonks. The bait and hunter worked together in capturing the enemy, so how come it turned into a Central Area spy, sect leader Bu? Ling Yuntian smiled, teasing, it seems to me that the Qin caravan was more like the Sun Si sect spy instead, haha. Bu Xingyun's face fell, glaring at his executive. Executive Chow, when I had you punished for your gross misdemeanor, you said you were played, that the Qin caravan is a Central Area spy. Why then do I now hear that you two work together in capturing a Sword King, thus unleashing a calamity upon the sect? Sect leader Bu, the capturing of the Sword King falls all on Executive Chow. Please don't drag us into this when we know nothing of it. Zhuo Fan interjected quickly to make his position known. Executive Chow's face twitched in anger, losing his temper. Your sly words lured me into this mess. I would never make such a grave mistake otherwise. Executive Chow loosed tongues and lives. I lured you? It's all your fault for telling me your tale is a spy that I sent a team to capture her. Haha, well isn't this funny? You're one of the 5 sects in northern lands, Sun Si sect, in charge of keeping these lands safe. You're now saying that after having lost a carriage and being followed should be kept all to myself instead? You might have neglected to report my findings, but I had done my duty by telling you. Zhuo Fan sneered, then turned to Ling Yuntan. Sect leader Ling, am I wrong in any way? If it were a matter of luring, then no one would ever report on the enemy movements to the sect and plunge northern lands into hell. Ling Yuntian bobbed his head. Hear, patriotic, responsible, and furthermore when your own clan's goods end up ruined, who wouldn't report? This goes double in these times with northern lands on the edge. Sect leader Ling is wise. Zhuo Fan gave a bow and turned to Executive Chow. Furthermore, there were rumors going around that Sun Si sect is actually cowardly and didn't think my report would ever amount to much, so I omitted it from you at first. But with you questioning the loss of half the goods, I had no choice but to be honest. It was the only way for you to leave me be. Executive Chow's face twitched harder, with Bu Xingyun darkening by the second. Zhuo Fan's passionate speech had simply been accusatory of the Sun Si sect. What was worse, this happened in front of Ling Yuntian and so he could do nothing to retaliate, only twitching as he tried to bottle up that anger. Executive Chow's heart sank looking at sect leader's sinister face. He had to do anything to get Chen Fan to take the fall or he'd be the one to get it in the end. Finding Central Area spies was no longer the issue here, but giving his sect leader's self-respect back and letting loose. Chen Fan, we don't need your flimsy opinions. You might be right about the report, but what about later? You proposed that we catch the spy together and share credit. It's your enticing offer that made me act and mess with that witch. It's all due to you that she came to Sun Si sect. Yeah, I did mention this to you, but how did you reply? Zhuo Fan raved, having lost half the goods, I did not know how to make up for the loss. I planned on doing it alone, but you just had to push the issue. In the end, you frickin' acted on your own. Are you going to say I made you do that too? If it were an average spy, the success would have propelled your career. Would you have come to bother me then? Just 'cause you got bad luck and suffered for it, you want to drag me down with you. Is that how you think the world works, sharing tribulations but not success? I first lost a carriage and to add insult to injury, you stole my credit, what the hell? Zhuo Fan rained on Executive Chow, with the conviction in his innocence. He got Executive Chow to shake under the assault and with no comeback. Because all that Zhuo Fan raved about was damn true. Even his scheme back then was refuted and he had no grounds on which to fight back. Though he was no fool and nodded, "But you said your dozen guards have chased the spy away. That which was anything but weak. Your words got me into this mess." "Humph, yeah, we had the spy surrounded but then she escaped with her faster speed. Am I wrong? There's no way Frigid Rainsword King got surrounded by just your team. How would I know? Maybe she liked to toy with us first. Who knows what twisted hobby some experts have." Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. "While in your case you cut her off so she didn't run, haha." Zhuo Fan smirked, hitting where it hurt the most. Bu Xingyun shook from rage. Executive Chow looked aggrieved as he peeked at his sect leader. Dai Qianshou chuckled and bowed. Sect leader Bu, it's all clear now. Ever since Invincible Sword slipped into our northern lands 6 months ago, Frigid Rainsword King had to have been following his orders to stay hidden. While she didn't move against a trade caravan only following it, its dozen guards would also find it impossible to catch her as well, thus making her feel free. But then, Sea Bright Sect blocked her way all of a sudden, giving her a hard time to flee. She would thus have no choice but to retaliate, causing this catastrophe. Bailey Yuqian's team was hardly sighted ever since they came to our lands, having their own plans. This disaster wouldn't have happened if they let her be. Yeah, Invincible Sword's team has to have a plan for staying low and wouldn't want to make such a huge scene. The way the Sun Sea sect got ruined is highly unusual. Ling Yuntian nodded, then said, "Executive Chow, how many times did you have Frigid Rainsword King surrounded in the end?" Executive Chow's brow shook, muttering as he counted, "I had sent 50 Soul Harmony experts and when my men died I went to Elder Li, who also sent 50 Genesis stage experts. When they died we went to Venerable Ma who went himself along with 10 other peak Genesis stage experts. That makes it 3. Then the woman came to us." Executive Chow's action had everyone dumbstruck. Executive Chow found himself flying from that hard slap, landing a good 10 meters away with a bloody mouth. As he got back to his feet he found 2 teeth had fallen. But then, he noticed Bu Xingyun's rage as he glared at him in fury. "God damn it, you useless sack of puss. You had her attacked thrice? Well, of course she'd be pissed. Not just the witch but even I would have been fuming." Bu Xingyun's face twitched and shook all over as he raved, "You damn bastards, how can you be so retarded? 50 died then another 50, first Soul Harmony experts then Genesis experts, yet you still haven't learned? You just sent men to fetch instead of at least knowing the opponent? Then you had the enemy come ruining the sect so you pin it on some impossible spy? Of course my sect gets destroyed especially with you morons in it." Bu Xingyun lamented. Ling Yuntian chuckled and waved his hand, "Sect leader Bu, please calm down. While it's all just a misunderstanding, it's good that everything's clear now. I was wondering why Bailey Yuqian's team would stay hidden all this time, only to enact such a huge disaster later on, then hide again. It's obvious now, just desserts. Oops, I slipped as well, sorry." Bu Xingyun's cheek twitched and he gave him an annoyed look for his own mistake being used on him, but then he turned apathetic. Ling Yuntian cupped his hands, "Steward Qian, the misunderstanding is now obvious. Forgive me for any slight that I might have caused. I ask that the Qian clan wouldn't let this minor event come between us, still working hard for the good of northern lands. I am grateful to see Bright Sect being fair and giving me justice in this matter. It is I who should apologize, sect leader, having let the matter get to me." Zhuo Fan hastily spoke. Ling Yuntian waved it off, "Haha, it's nothing. Steward Qian is a courteous man and a true man to my liking. I have rarely seen men of your quality even among all the lands, Steward Qian. Sect leader is too kind." Zhuo Fan gave another deep bow, "Then may I take my leave?" "Please?" Ling Yuntian gestured with a constant smile. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands again before leaving. Bu Xingyun eyed Ling Yuntian, having lost all confidence, bowing to him then taking Executive Chow away. Dai Qianshou appeared once more next to Ling Yuntian moments later. "A farce, haha. That remains to be seen." Ling Yuntian spoke gravely, having lost his smile. Dai Qianshou asked curiously, "Sect leader, wasn't the matter clear? The so-called spies never existed." "Yeah, but it's too obvious and that makes me uneasy." Ling Yuntian's eyes shone, "You think in any confrontation there's only black and white. Humph, on one hand is the sect leader of the Sun Sea sect and on the other a mere steward of the Qian clan. They couldn't be more different. But do you really believe that Steward would ever have the ability to control the way the confrontation went? Dai Qianqiu gasped. Sect leader means. There's more to that Steward than he lets on. Ling Yunqian's eyes shone with conviction. Outside the hall, Zhuofan was on his way back when a chill went through him. Curses, I've just gone to clear my name but showed off too much. What kind of merchant would act like that? I treated those two like rabid dogs. Ugh, what a blunder. Chapter 1010, Well Met Again. Chapter 1010, Well Met Again. Proofreader, Papatonks. What normal merchant out there refuted a sect leader? I got Ling Yunqian's favor from the start and I just had to miss a few beats now and then, acting like I was pushed around, and then he would have gotten me out of it. But now that this win was too perfect, it only raised suspicion. Sigh, it all comes down to how perceptive Ling Yuntian is. But no random steward should ever be so tough. The more he thought, the more worried he became, ending up with a sigh as he made his way back. He had really been careless just now. And Mr. Gu? The sudden call snapped him out from his thoughts. Pausing, Zhuofan frowned and his face fell. Who else could it be but one of his old pals from the central area? Freezing on the spot, he turned to find the very familiar miss of the Shangguan clan staring at him. It also worked to make him wonder what she would be doing here of all places. Wasn't she going back to Eastern lands? What's she doing here? They got their sword back, so they ought to be home. Then it hit him, the Four Lands Alliance. As the Shangguan clan was the leader of the Eastern lands, they of course offered help to Northern lands in fighting off the enemy. Them being here was natural. Or better yet, he should have been prepared for it, but the sudden meet came out of nowhere, leaving him floored. With the Shangguan clan knowing everything about him, his chin cover was bound to be blown. Shangguan Qingyan lit up with unspeakable joy. Mr. Gu, it's really you. I thought you looked familiar from afar. Zhuofan moved with speed and precision, landing next to her and covering her mouth. Shangguan Qingyan jerked but then noticed Zhuofan's sneaky look. There was no trace of fear in her heart, only giving a silly smile, while her eyes basked in the joy of reunion. Zhuofan gave the secluded forest path a once-over for anyone else being around, then took Shangguan Qingyan deeper into the woods. Now looking at her excited gaze, he rolled his eyes and let go of her, speaking in a serious tone, "How come I run into you again?" "Yeah, what a coincidence meeting you as well, Mr. Gu Ha." Blushing hard, Shangguan Qingyan gave a shy smile and looked bashfully away. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan stared at her as he mulled before speaking. "Miss Shangguan, I am so happy to see you as well." "Really? I think so too." Shangguan Qingyan lit up and gazed into his deep eyes with a wide smile. Zhuofan rushed to settle her mood. "This isn't the time to reminisce. I still have important things to do, so I must be going." "So soon? But we just met." "Yes, the matter is urgent, haha." Zhuofan sighed. "Also, I'm not Gu Yifan now, so act like you never saw me. You must never ever mention anything about me to anyone or my head would roll. Are we clear?" Shangguan Qingyan paused, then smiled. "You're not Gu Yifan? Does that mean it's a fake name? Then who are you? Tell me, or I'm telling Dad that Gu Yifan giving him sleepless nights is here in the northern lands." "I gave him sleepless nights? What was he thinking about?" Zhuofan's brow furrowed but then shook his head. This was no time to think about some random stuff. So making sure the coast was still clear, "Miss Shangguan, this is serious. I have a secret mission here that no one must know about." "Are you up against Northern lands now? That won't do. We're here to help them." "I'm not interested in Northern lands. I won't meddle in their affairs, I promise." "Then what are you here for?" "It doesn't concern you, just promise me you'll keep my secret that you never saw me. Once I finish my mission, I'll just leave with none the wiser." Zhuofan vowed. Shangguan Qingyan pouted. "You're saying you're gonna leave without drawing attention?" "Cross my heart and hope to die. I don't believe it." "What about me?" Grumbling with a lowered head, Shangguan Qingyan teared up. "You slip in then slip out so that not even I will be startled." Zhuofan's face twitched and sighed. Anyone else would be wrecked with fear from being involved with such a mastermind like him, then guilt eating them up inside from not reporting. But this chick is more worried about not saying goodbye when leaving. Just what's going through her head? What's so important about seeing her before I go? It's not like I'm taking her. Just what does she get out of a fake promise? Giving her a long look, Zhuofan sighed. "All right, I'll drop by before leaving." "Really? Does that mean since only I know you came and left, then only I know what you did here?" Shengguan Qianyan grew exuberant once more. Zhuo Fan cocked his head. I guess. But what's with that twisted logic? Anyone else that knew this would have had me exposed. It's all the same since you can only trust me in this place. I won't ever sell you out. Shengguan Qianyan giggled, hugging his arm. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, glancing at her. Yeah, I guess I trust you. Who else am I to trust if not the one who ran into me? Ha ha ha. Besides, if anything happened to the miss of the Shengguan clan, it would draw unwanted attention and soon I'll be found out. The best way to keep quiet is to silence everyone if they were a random person, that is. No, young Sanzi risked his life for her. Even if she's a nobody, I can't treat young Sanzi's sacrifice so frivolously. Zhuo Fan muled things over, settling on letting this Miss Shengguan live. That meant he had to speed up his operation to minimize the already increasing risk. Miss Shengguan, we promise to forget about ever meeting and ever knowing each other. Farewell. Extricating his arm from her tight hug, Zhuo Fan gave a dry smile and ran. Shengguan Qingyan shouted after only 2 steps, Gu Yifan, stop right there. Zhuo Fan froze, looking back with a bright smile. What else can I do for you, Miss Shengguan? You still haven't told me your real name. You're going nowhere until you do. Shengguan Qingyan smiled. Zhuo Fan frowned. My name's Chen Fan, haha. Fake for sure, humph. Grumbling, Shengguan Qingyan rolled her eyes. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Anything I say you'll think it's fake, so what's the point in saying it? Don't say it then and I won't ask again. Shengguan Qingyan's eyes twitched and then she grew quiet. But I do want to know one thing. Ask away, but it's up to you if you believe me. Is young Sanzi all right? What? Zhuo Fan's face fell, taking a deep breath. He's still alive but unconscious. I came here to save him. You sneaked into the Sea Bright sect for young Sanzi? How are you going to save him? Don't worry about it. Just know that I must succeed. Oh, I see. Then you can rest assured that I'll never tell on you. Shengguan Qingyan turned serious as she promised. For you or for young Sanzi, I will keep your secret. Zhuo Fan smiled. I believe you will do it for young Sanzi. Then I'll go get ready. All right, till next time. Shengguan Qingyan was no longer difficult this time around, watching Zhuo Fan with hopeful eyes, that he would pull through. Zhuo Fan nodded, then flew away and off this island. Shengguan Qingyan took a deep breath and had a sweet smile on her face as she went in another direction. Chapter 10:11, Northern Land's Best Disciple. Chapter 10:11, Northern Land's Best Disciple. Proofreader, Papatonks. Spring is in the air, with the bloom of flowers and the chirping of birds. In a quiet little home, Shengguan Qingyan's voice was heard as she sang, skipping around in a very good mood. Oh, Uncle Shengguan said that young Miss Shengguan has been down this past year and I thought this silly sister was bothered with something, so I came to help. Now I see that sister is in good spirits. I must have gotten worried over nothing, ha. Shengguan Qingyan paused and looked back with a smile. Before her was the Southern Land's immortal healer Murong Shui and her servant, Zhuer. Sister Murong, you're here as well? Shengguan Qingyan cheered and jumped in Murong Shui's embrace. Murong Shui patted her soft hair. With Northern Lands in danger and the other lands helping, Southern Lands is not about to stay behind either. Young Miss Shengguan, young Miss had missed you so much. When we came last time to Northern Lands to get medicine, she has always wished to go to Eastern Lands and see you, young Miss, again. But the Northern Lands came under threat and Clan Head had to rush here. Young Miss wanted to visit you in Eastern Lands, then come to Northern Lands with Shengguan Clan. Only that in the Eastern Lands we realized you've already gone to Northern Lands, so young Miss rushed here on the double. She made quite the detour. Zhuer smiled at the 2 girls as she told them about her hard journey. Shengguan Qingyan was touched and broke the hug to look into Murong Shui's clear eyes as she grabbed her soft hands. You've been through so much, big sister. How could I repay you? This is nothing to you and Uncle Shengguan's hardship of taking back the soaring sword from the central area. Murong Shui glared at Shengguan Qingyan. Little sister, do I mean so little to you to not tell me about this huge matter about the stolen sword? Our 4 lands alliance aside, with our 2 clans so close, we would never have stood by during your plight. I just had to go to Shengguan Clan myself in the Eastern Lands to know you've braved such terrible dangers before making a detour to Northern Lands and for the Sea Bright sect without so much as a word of notice. Thank heavens you're all right. I wouldn't have known how to take your loss then. Wouldn't that be an insult to our clan's close friendship? Shengguan Qingyan gave the sullen Murong Shui a tight hug. Don't be angry, big sis. It's all my fault for not telling you. But I'm not the only one who deserves your anger. Who? Dad. Shangguan Qingyan giggled. After Shangguan Feiyun stole the soaring sword, someone proposed that we join hands with the Murong clan, but Dad refused. He said that it's our clan's problem and not to involve others, as it would earn their ridicule once this matter was out. How are we to provide support when we can't even keep our swords safe? Won't that disgrace our clan? Murong Shui sighed and shook her head. That's the Uncle Shangguan I know, obsessed with appearances. Right? Big sister Murong, be sure to teach my stubborn dad a valuable lesson. How could I? He's a senior and we are juniors. How can we meddle in their affairs? Also, Murong Shui chuckled and sighed. Uncle Shangguan must have hesitated out of concern for our clan. With southern lands having no conflict yet with the central area and a relative peace in place between us and the Sword Star Empire, I thus could still move about in their home. But by joining the matter of the stolen sword, it would bring many troubles to us. Shangguan clan is a righteous clan and would never cause misfortune upon another. This is something I appreciate about Uncle Shangguan's character and pain. Shangguan Qingyan nodded in understanding. Yeah, Shangguan is righteous and the Murong clan is filled with justice. Despite being apart, we are the prime example for good in the Five Lands. How else would our two clans would have grown so close? Haha, that's what I call partners in notoriety. What? Murong Shui smiled at first, then her face twitched as Shangguan Qingyan finished, whining, Sis Yenner, what was that? Nothing. I meant to say with valor and justice thick as thieves, oops. Covering her mouth, Shangguan Qingyan gave Murong Shui an awkward look, growing angry. It's all that Mina's fault for twisting my views. Murong Shui frowned and teased, Amine? Oh, the one Uncle Shangguan told me about that you've been pining for a year now. Dad told you? Shangguan Qingyan blushed hard with a lowered head but a silly smile. Murong Shui nodded. Uncle Shangguan avoided specifics, only saying that you had a fling in the central area and turned sulky. But the way I hear it now, it might not be as simple as a fling. Dear little sister, you're head over heels, completely lovesick, huh? As if. Why not? Murong Shui teased. You used to be such a demure lady and now you can't even speak straight. You must have picked up his speaking habits, ha. I bet your man isn't just anyone and knows how to be blunt as well. Shangguan Qingyan blushed harder. No way, he's just a bit harsh with words. What about that cousin of yours, Shangguan Yulin, who used to stick to you like glue? How does he compare? Humph, that traitor isn't worth his shoes, Shangguan Qingyan sneered. Murong Shui shook her head. Love is blind. You're truly hopeless. I heard from Uncle Shangguan that Shangguan Yulin has a bad character, but he was well known in the lands for his looks and strength. If he can't even carry the guy's shoes, won't that mean your man is beyond outstanding? Haha, I don't believe there's anyone as great as Shangguan Yulin. Love is in the eyes of the beholder. Little sis is so in love she thinks the world of him. Shangguan Yulin's eyes shook and said with defiance, Big sis, you're too ignorant. The entire Shangguan clan witnessed his ability. Go ask Dad if you don't believe me, see how much Dad's praising him. That traitor Shangguan Yulin is nothing to him. Aren't you now arguing with me about his overestimated greatness? You even dare talk back to me saying that I'm blind? Damn girl, want me to knock some sense into you? Murong Shui raised her hands with a sly grin and unleashed her tickling attack on the love-struck girl. Shangguan Qingyan dodged while laughing for her to stop. Big sister Murong, please stop. I won't say it. You're not blind, you're narrow-minded. Hey, did you pick only his bad habits? This goes to show he isn't anything good. Yet you're still saying it? Murong Shui swung while Shangguan Qingyan kept dodging in good humor. The girls enjoyed themselves with Zhuer giggling at the side in encouragement. Young Miss Shangguan, that's it. Keep at it, hi. The red bean trees in the south to grow / by spring they yield in heaps above, / I hope you pluck in plenty soon / because it is the gift of love. In the middle of their fun, a poem drowned the two girls' shrieks, unable to disturb the speaker's resounding voice. The girls halted their fun and looked at the entrance. Thump. A man in a long robe and tied hair, a most refined scholar in demeanor and pace, walked in holding a snow plum flower in his hand. Murong Shui started at his appearance. Ouyang Changqing, you're out. Northern Land's best disciple Ouyang Changqing. Shangguan Qingyan giggled. I've been to Northern Lands a couple of times but never had met you till now. Ouyang Changqing gave a bow and smiled. Young Miss Shangguan, I have been most of the time in seclusion. It's only natural to have yet to see me. Sister Shui, it's been a while. This snow plum flower is for you. Ouyang Changqing smiled as he presented the flower with respect and a smile. Murong Shui did not take it. It's too soon to be calling me like that. How so when it's just right? Ouyang Changqing beamed. Now that father has healed from his wounds and your brother is a guest in the Sea Bright sect, I shall ask father to request your brother to give me your hand in marriage. Then we can have an early wedding, ha. Chapter 10-12, Suspicion. Chapter 10-12, Suspicion. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? Shengguan Qingyan looked in shock from Murong Shui and Ouyang Changqing, before settling on a smile. Big sis, you've been hiding your sweetheart all this time from me while even teasing me about my own. Now we get to celebrate your wedding with rounds of drinks. What's with that nonsense? Murong Shui glared at her, then looked into Ouyang Changqing's hopeful gaze. Brother Ouyang, have you forgotten our promise? Of course not. Ouyang Changqing spoke with pride, grasping the heavens, shaking the 5 lands, standing above everyone and only below one. Murong Shui smirked. Then brother Ouyang, which of these 4 have you achieved? While I have only fulfilled 1, the other 3 are just a matter of time with this head start. While marriage is a way off, we can at least get engaged. My, how certain you are. What gives you such confidence? Murong Shui toyed. Ouyang Changqing had his head held high, his chest out as he said, it's obvious I'll grasp heaven. You know who my father is, the strongest in northern lands, Ouyang Lingtian, wielding the heaven-sealing sword. Won't the divine sword be passed down to me? The 5 lands' divine swords aren't necessarily passed down in one's family, but based on ability. Murong Shui huffed. Ouyang Changqing gave an understanding nod, his pride unaffected. You're right, but if we are to leave father out of this, who am I exactly? The winner of the Northern Lands' Great Disciple Competition. I am now the best disciple in Northern Lands and later shall take my father's place in becoming the best in Northern Lands. Sister Shui has to agree. Murong Shui flicked her head away but still relinquished a nod. Ouyang Changqing grinned. As for shocking the lands, it will come with becoming the best in Northern Lands. And as for being under one man? Shengguan Qingyan asked eagerly, with such high goals to be still beneath someone, who would that be? Is it that old freak Invincible Sword? Though it's kinda obvious since he hasn't been beaten for the last 10,000 years and it's sure to stay like that for another few thousands. Ouyang Changqing mocked. Young Miss Shengguan, you're totally underestimating me. I'm a man destined to cleave the heavens. Once I gain insight into heaven's sealing sword art, his invincible status will be a thing of the past, humph. See, that's the type I hate the most, overconfident to the extreme. He's no different from those prancing wastrels everywhere. Saying that you're above invincible sword without even meeting him is sheer lunacy. Murong Shui's face was hard as she made eye contact with Shengguan Qingyan. Shengguan Qingyan bobbed her head, looking at him eagerly still. Since even invincible sword is beneath you, then who will be the one above? Isn't it obvious? Ouyang Lingtian cupped his hands at the sky with a straight face. Family ties are most important. No matter how godlike I become, I shall remain father's son. Only my father can stand above me. As for standing above everyone, that'll come natural with the defeat of invincible sword, ha ha ha. What? Shengguan Qingyan's heart sank as she looked at his obnoxious zealotry, feeling Murong Shui's pain. Now I know what you mean by the 4 goals being simple. Besides you and your dad, everything is relative. Not relative but destined to happen. Ouyang Changqing spoke heavily. Murong Shui rolled her eyes. Then do come again when the relative becomes reality. Sister Yenner, let's go inside and forget about this bore. Murong Shui threw the snow plum flower, taking Shengguan Qingyan's arm and walking inside. I'd much rather have you tell me more about your man than listen to his obnoxious bragging. Shengguan Qingyan shrugged and followed after her, having no choice. Ouyang Changqing cried from behind, Sister Shui, I will succeed, believe me. Believe your foot. Murong Shui cursed in her mind. Changqing, I believe you? A laughter came from nowhere as a familiar figure suddenly grabbed Ouyang Changqing's arm. Changqing, it's been years since we saw each other and my how much you've grown, already in the 8th layer soul harmony stage. There's no disciple like you in the other 3 lands. The sky's the limit, I tell you, haha. Ouyang Changqing lit up, having his ego stoked. Brother Murong, it's been a long time. I missed you as well. Murong Shui paused and looked at Shengguan Qingyan with a sigh. I just don't know what brother sees in him to even give his little sister away. Shui, did you say something? Nothing. Now that brother is here, does that mean you found clues to track them? Murong Shui still held Shengguan Qingyan as she went to give a slight bow. The smiling Murong Lai suddenly turned dark. Don't remind me. Those three are like ghosts vanishing off the face of the earth. Sea Cloud sect had been searching for 6 months now but still came out empty. They must have left that area and all clues are gone. I could only come back. Who are they to have escaped the likes of ardent Sun Sword God? Are they so great? Shengguan Qingyan asked curiously. Ouyang Changqing was also confused. With Brother Murong and the mighty forces of Sea Cloud sect scouring their domain, they should have been found in minutes. How can there be no trace at all? It's baffling. Brother Murong, would you care to tell me more about them? I shall gather all the men of the 5 sects and check everyone. We'll leave no stone unturned, but we'll definitely find them. No, please don't. It will only unsettle northern lands more. Invincible Sword's team is hidden and causing such chaos will only work against us. They'll use this chance to slip in. Yeah, Schwer is right. There's no need to go through such lengths for just 3 people. Our true enemy is Bailey Yutian after all. Murong Lai gave a hard nod. Ouyang Changqing pondered and relented. Does that mean, Brother Murong, that they're not from the central area? Who are they? Shengguan Qingyan picked up on Murong Lai's meaning. Murong Shui sighed. The man is as cunning as a demon, causing thousands of casualties in the central area then vanishing without a trace. Now he appeared in northern lands along with an expert that can fight my brother to a standstill. Just what is he up to? We're yet unsure in his stance regarding the northern lands conflict, but he is without a doubt a dangerous element. Not even Brother Murong could catch him? Just who is he? Shengguan Qingyan cried out and Ouyang Changqing looked at him with shock. Murong Shui was the one to explain still. I don't know who he is, just that he left one name in the central area, Gu Yifan. What? Shengguan Qingyan gaped, almost thinking out loud. But she caught herself in time, though her face sank. How can it be him? Why are the Murongs after him? What now? As she was thinking of finding out, Ouyang Changqing made it worse with his sigh. Just from the name I can tell he's bad. I never heard a more ugly name. Who in their right mind would use their real name when doing evil anyway? Murong Shui rolled her eyes at him. Ouyang Changqing shrugged. Never mind, since we won't find him soon, not with a fake name and hiding his trail. I'm better off minding my own search. Brother Murong, want to come along? Who are you searching for? Murong Shui smirked. Sect leader Ling actually trusted someone as shallow as you to find someone suspicious? You're only going to scare them away. Ouyang Changqing's mood deflated. Sister Shui, don't underestimate me. Sect leader Ling personally asked me to make the inquiries. A caravan just arrived at the sect, one belonging to the Chen clan, one of the 3 great merchant clans in northern lands. Sect leader found their steward, Qian Fan, to be odd and asked me to look into him. Qian Fan. Shengguan Qingyan paled, having recalled Zhuo Fan saying Qian Fan was his real name. While unclear if that was true, she believed that was the name he was using now. Curses, he even said to keep it a secret. Barely any time passed and he's already under suspicion. Now that Murong brother and sister are after you, what do I do? Shengguan Qingyan was consumed by anxiety and worry. That damn man always knows how to make me uneasy. Chapter 1013, Strongest Barrier. Chapter 1013, Strongest Barrier. Proofreader, Papatonks. Looking at Shengguan Qingyan so distressed and jittery, everyone gave her an odd look, with Murong Shui asking, Sister Yenner, what is it? Something wrong? No, I just recalled something crucial that needs all of your dire attention. It all happened so fast that I suddenly cried out and startled you all. Don't look at me like that, haha. Shengguan Qingyan gave a strained laughter, her eyes shining. Murong Lai said, Oh, and here I thought you're familiar with Steward Qian. Brother Murong, that's a poor joke. Why would I know a northern lands merchant? Just when Brother Ouyang mentioned his name I was reminded of a depressing matter. It's totally a coincidence Shengguan Qingyan strained to cover it all up, while the rest merely ignored it. Sister Yenner, you're all grown up yet so easily stirred. You should worry about being married off. I'll never marry and stay with Sister Shui. Hi. Shengguan Qingyan raised an eyebrow while hugging Murong Shui's arm. Rubbing her cute little head, Murong Shui smiled back. Murong Lai and Ouyang Changqing looked at the 2 girls being so close and just shrugged. Murong Lai then smiled at Shengguan Qingyan. Sister Yenner, what's the dire issue that needs my help? You can just say it. Well? Looking hesitant, Shangguan Qingyan faltered as she beamed. It's something that Dad didn't want me to say, but recently he's been worried sick over it that I started worrying as well. Actually, Murong Lai turned serious. Brother Shangguan? It must be grave indeed for not even Shangguan clan head to not solve it. Yener, tell me everything and maybe I can offer my help. Brother Murong, you must not say a word to Dad that I was the one who told you. You know how obsessed he is with appearances. Shangguan Qingyan put on a pained look as she spoke the big secret. Murong Lai and the others listened attentively, with Ouyang Changqing looking hopeful. Of course, Sister Yener, we won't ever mention you. I'm actually very curious to know this secret, especially about such a big clan, hee. Shangguan Qingyan rolled her eyes, glaring at him and scrounged up her nose before sighing. To be quite frank, Brother Ouyang, we might have recovered the soaring sword from the central area, but it's now ruined. What? Murong Lai gasped. The 5 divine swords of the lands that can peel steel, cleave heavens, crush the earth, the strongest things in the world, had one of them ended up ruined? Is there actually anyone who can do this? Brother Murong, what I meant to say by that is not the sword itself that is broken, but the sword's spirit is sealed and can't unleash the divine sword's power. It's nothing more than a glorified paperweight. Shangguan Qingyan sighed. Dad and the 3 venerables had been tireless in trying to unseal it for the better part of the year, with no results. The sealing was very strong, leaving nothing they could use. That's why I wanted to ask Brother Murong if you could help Dad. Murong Lai turned grave and jerked as she called to him. He shouted, Brother Shangguan is just too foolish. This matter isn't as simple as having only eastern lands concerned so he could just hide it from us. We all know how terrible Invincible Sword is. Without the Soaring Sword's help, how could we stop him? Thank you for sharing this with me, or I fear we'd be in the dark even as all 3 divine swords gathered to fight the old monster. Telling us at the last moment the Soaring Sword is broken would be seriously grave. Changqing, you tell your father to see Shangguan Feixiong. Swear, we're going right now to him and understand the situation. That old man, how can he be so blind? By looking for majesty, he endangers the entire alliance. Murong Lai grew annoyed and cursed as he rushed for Shangguan clan's lodgings. Murong Shui was grave as she followed. With Danqing Shin taking the Western Land's divine sword, that only left 3 to fight off Invincible Sword. Now that 3 became 2, stopping that monster was impossible. He wasn't just strong by himself, but also wielded a divine weapon as well. Ouyang Changqing started, then said, Brother Murong, sect leader gave me a job to do. Isn't it just a check-up on a suspicious person? That can wait. The sealed soaring sword takes precedence. Go tell your father. Murong Lai shouted back as he flew away, with Murong Shui and Zhuer catching up. Ouyang Changqing nodded quickly and went his own way too. Only Shangguan Qingyan was left standing there all alone. Giving sneak peeks around, Shangguan Qingyan darted away too, but in a completely different direction than the rest. Father, sorry, you're the only excuse I could think of. I have to warn that devil, that he's about to be found out. Zhuofan had left the highest floating island and after asking around, he flew to the lowest island to find his team. In a lone house in a secluded place, the occasional sea breeze blew, invigorating and refreshing. Having no mood to enjoy the view, Zhuofan went right inside the courtyard, then used the brass knocker on the large door. A cautious voice responded, Who is it? It's me, Steward Qian. Zhuofan glanced around for any signs of other people and spoke softly. Crick. Open just a crack, a shifty face came into view, perking up at recognizing his boss, opened the door and welcomed him in. Zhuofan rushed right in and once the door closed behind him, he looked around the room to find everything accounted for. Did anything happen? Nothing to us, only you've been called out by Ling Yuntian for questioning. You didn't let anything slip, right? Bailey Yuyu stretched and smiled. Zhuofan's face sank. Bali Yuyu started and said, You didn't. You, with your twisted and insidious mind, that had even the patriarch flustered into sending me with you, couldn't even deal with one measly Ling Yuntian? What's wrong with you? It's easy to handle the old coot since we had no conflict, but Ling Yuntian is a cautious man, with the slightest mistake making him suspicious. What was I supposed to do? Hey, who are you calling an old coot? Say that again. Forget what I said. At Bailey Yuyu's suddenly savage look, Zhuofan shrugged and frowned at the rest. What about all of you? Have you found anything in the time you've been in the Sea Bright sect? Pa. One guard stepped forward with a bow. Sir, We've been talking with their disciples on our way here and have a grasp of the surroundings. Seabright sect is made up of 3 floating islands called Beyond Heaven Island, Mid-Heaven Island, and Beneath Heaven Island. The highest is where the important figures of the sect reside. The 3 lands experts are also staying there. It is the place where Sir has came from just now. Zhuofan nodded, having understood this. The Mid-Heaven Island, one in between the other 2, is where the disciples live and some executives. The disciples of the 3 lands who came to help are also staying here. The man continued, as for the lowest island, that's where we are. Common guests are received and outer sect disciples train here. Zhuofan's brow shook, his eyes shining. That's it? Nothing else? Of course there's more. Bali Yuyu cut the man off with a shout, only this time she was dead serious. Seabright sect is like a huge prison. You can get in but it will be hard to get out, including me. Zhuofan's eyes widened as he exclaimed, why? Bali Yuyu was a prideful sword king that even barged into Sun Sea sect on a killing spree for blocking her path. She held no fear even when fighting ardent sun sword god, knowing she could escape any time. Yet when faced with the Seabright sect, she came out to say it was hard to leave it. This made Zhuofan tense and uneasy. Sir, the Seabright sect is far scarier than we thought. Bali Yuyu remained silent, so the man cupped his hand and continued, Frigid Rain Sword King is right. The Seabright sect has the strongest barrier among all of the sects in the 5 lands. Not even a sword king can break it. The minute our covers are blown, we will all be trapped. Chapter 10:14, Crisis. Chapter 10:14, Crisis. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuofan's brow shook, his eyes filled with doubt. The strongest barrier, one that even a sword king can't breach. They all lowered their heads. Zhuofan spoke, Central Area is the strongest. Central Area has the most talents, with plenty of array masters. Yet they can't set up the strongest barrier while the barren northern lands can? Well, they have that heaven-sealing divine sword. Bali Yuyu added. Zhuofan rose an eyebrow, his eyes sharp. You mean the barrier is connected to the divine sword? That is indeed so, sir. The man bowed again. From our investigation, the Seabright sect's barrier relies on their divine sword to remain. No one in the lands knows the extent of the divine swords because no one has managed to unleash their full power. But Seabright sect uses arrays to witness the might of their divine sword. The inner disciples told us that the heaven-sealing sword remains at the top of the Grand Hall on Beyond Heaven Island, while not in use. Through many arrays, the heaven-sealing sword's power is being leveraged to protect the sect by forming the strongest barrier. Sir, watch. The man opened a window and pointed at the calm sea. These waters hold the sea demon of incredible power, defeating the best in northern lands with one strike. It had unleashed sky-high swells that drowned hundreds of Genesis stage experts. But even this amazing power failed to scratch the sect's barrier. This place is so safe and at peace, all due to the heaven-sealing sword's power. The sword is beyond anyone's comprehension. After hearing this as well, I went to check out the barrier. Sure enough, not a trace of my yuan qi can slip through, having no gaps I can use. I dare say that not even my full power can scratch it. Bali Yuyu sighed and shook her head, like a hero past his prime. Looking at the peaceful waters, Zhuofan said, So what you're saying is that this great barrier isolates the sea demon from the Seabright sect. If I were to venture deeper into the sea and find the sea demon, I need to first break the barrier? Regarding that, the same guard frowned. I believe not even the strongest Bailey Yutian can do. Ahem. Bali Yuyu's icy glare landed on the man, getting his attention as she cleared her throat. Sometimes it was best to leave her dear patriarch out of it. The man flinched and lowered his voice. Zhuofan's eyes shone. We have no choice but to take the heaven-sealing sword and break the barrier. Steal the heaven-sealing sword? Everyone cried out. The Seabright sect will know the instant it's taken and they'll come at us in force. There'll be no escape for us. Zhuofan smirked. I'll be the one grabbing it, not you, so what are you afraid of? And once I get it, I'll run straight for the sea to find the sea demon. They'll only be following me to see the sea demon. As for you, you'll use the chaos to escape. Your mission is over. Sir, the risk is too great, be it going for the sea demon or having the Seabright sect hunt you down. Zhuofan raised his hand to stop him, his mind made. That's an order. Ugh, yes, sir. They all saw Zhuofan's firm stance and sighed. Just then there was a sudden knock at the door that got everyone jumpy. Who can it be? We're just a bunch of merchants. It can't be that Seabright sect is suspicious, right? Or is our cover blown so soon? Everyone tensed, with sweat trickling down their faces. Zhuofan shouted, "Who's there?" "It's me, open up." Zhuofan jerked and rolled his eyes with a sigh. "What's this wench doing here?" Zhuofan opened the door and Shangguan Qingyan burst right in, looking happy to see him. "It's really you. I was right, you're using Qian Fan as a cover." "Haha, yeah, now why are you here?" Zhuofan looked bitter. The rest relaxed, finding them so casual with one another. Bali Yu mocked, "My, what a romantic you are, Qian Fan. You find charming friends wherever you go." "Who's she?" Shangguan Qingyan started at Bali Yu's presence. "A grandma the merchants gave us to stitch and babysit." "You're the grandma? Try mocking me again and I'll pummel you." Zhuofan rolled his eyes at Bali Yu's outburst. Shangguan Qingyan looked at them and her heart sank. She asked again, "Sergu, this is terrible. Sect leader Ling is suspicious of you and sent the best disciple in northern lands, Ouyang Changqing, to look into you." "What, that fast?" Zhuofan looked grave. He knew he was too flashy back then, but didn't think the gentle old man would be so responsive. He needed to act faster than the inspection. "Also, how did you get on Morong Lai's bad side? Sister and brother Morong are looking for you as well. But luckily you sealed Soaring Sword Spirit back then and I mentioned it to them so they can go help Dad with it. Or they would have come with Ouyang Changqing to see you." Shangguan Qingyan complained again. Zhuofan's heart seized, a chill going up his spine. Not just sect leader Ling but even Morong Lai. That was too close. With those two coming to see him, he'd be exposed on the spot. He wagered that being part of a merchant group, he'd have some time to use this cover and figure some things out to increase his odds. But reality showed he had none. Every second he remained here would only exacerbate the crisis. Zhuofan gave Shangguan Qingyan a deep bow, filled with sincerity. "Thank you, Miss Shangguan, for your timely assistance. Without you I would have been in grave danger. I will never forget this." "Hey, it's all for young Sanzi." Shangguan Qingyan turned bashful but a smile still formed. "Since Mr. Gu will remember this favor, would you be willing to trust me with your real name? How would I know if you're sincere if I don't even know your name?" Zhuofan paused, then looked in her hopeful eyes with a nod. "All right, I am Zhuofan of Western Lands." "Zhuofan." Shangguan Qingyan's eyes shone as she smiled wider. "I'll remember it well. Better not be another fake name or you'll be sorry. It's genuine, trust me. Only you better not mention it to anyone since I'm supposed to be dead." "How come?" "You'll know with time." Zhuofan smiled. "Oh right, you said Morong Lai went to deal with the sealed soaring sword. What about the others?" Shangguan Qingyan was quick to reply. Brother Morong had asked Ouyang Changqing to find his father and go there as well. "That's good. Since war is knocking, the more people unsealing the sword, the better and faster." Zhuofan's eyes shone as he planned his next move. Shangguan Qingyan hurriedly said, "Zhuofan, there's something I want to ask you. When you returned the soaring sword to the Shangguan clan, did you seal it on purpose?" "Oh, not at all. I sealed it when I had to deal with the soaring sword. Everything happened so fast that I forgot to unseal it." Zhuofan said, "You know as well how critical young Sanzi's condition was. I had no mind to worry about other things." "I know, you didn't fool us on purpose." Zhuofan explained casually and Shangguan Qingyan perked up on the spot, pecking his cheek. Everyone stood dumbstruck, even Zhuofan, his gaze lost in the distance and unresponsive. Chapter 10:15, Striving for to be the best. Chapter 10:15, Striving for to be the best. Proofreader, Papatonks. The atmosphere plunged, with the air freezing in place. The others watched with gaping mouths while Zhuofan was rooted in place with his mind blown away. Shangguan Qingyan noticed the awkward vibes from their looks and blushed hard at her impulsive action, choosing to run away at once. How mortifying. Zhuofan gasped at long last, getting some life back in him, instantly treating it like it never happened. He gently closed the door and asked, "You heard Miss Shangguan, right?" Yeah, yep, ha ha ha." They all gave silly laughs, with the guards even bowing. "We never knew Sir's name but now we know how to address you, Sir Zhuo. The crux is, Zhuofan is real or just another fake name?" Bali Yu smirked. Zhuofan rolled his eyes then shouted, "That's besides the point. What I'm getting at is that Miss Shangguan gave us 3 important pieces of news. Sect leader Ling and the Murong siblings doubt us, that they are now working to unseal the soaring sword, and that even the best in northern lands Ouyang Lingtian was called over. What do you guys think? We await Sir's orders. Everyone bowed and deferred to him. Zhuo Fan sighed. This information allows us to understand the situation. We're on a timer now, in extreme danger, with escape nigh impossible once See Bright sect and the Murong siblings find out about us. And that this is our chance. With soaring sword sealed, every expert around ought to be busy with it, leaving the heaven-sealing sword unguarded. One guard exclaimed, Sir wants to steal the heaven-sealing sword then break the barrier? But isn't it too hasty? We're in a race against time with not a moment to spare. Zhuo Fan spoke heavily, waiting until they unseal the soaring sword will soon be trapped with no chance of reprisal. Hesitation will only get us killed. That's why we must act now while we can. You're stealing the sword. Bali Yu jerked, aren't you afraid I'll run off with it? Run to your heart's content. Zhuo Fan gave an impatient wave, I don't want it anyway, just need to lower the barrier and slip into the North Sea. What I need from you is to flee with it and distract everyone. Also, only a sword king like you has the highest chance of stealing it. Bali Yu nodded, I like this deal. I agree. Everyone else get ready to flee. Once Yu snatches the sword, break the barrier and make yourself scarce. May fortune be with you. Zhuo Fan was blunt. Bali Yu would be in no danger once the chaos started, while the rest would be made scapegoats. At least these men are Serene Shores trading diehards, willing to die to make their company great again. Cupping their hands, the men spoke with resolve, we shall obey. But when do we act, sir? The sooner the better. Tonight. Zhuo Fan declared. Everyone mentally prepared for what was to come. Bang. There was a sudden loud knock on the door, too forceful to be from Shangguan Qingyan. It must be Ouyang Changqing to check on us. Zhuo Fan gave a slight nod and said, Who is it and what brings you here? I am See Bright sect's disciple Ouyang Changqing. I learned that you have traveled a long way to bring us supplies and must be weary from your journey, so I came to pay a visit. I hope I'm not bothering you. A clear voice came from beyond the door, filled with respect, though the tone hinted at his superior airs. Bali Yu sneered and whispered, a pompous fool. Zhuo Fan shook his head and opened the door to find Ouyang Changqing straightening his clothes, and putting on a dry smile, Ha, young Master Ouyang, welcome, welcome. You give our minor merchant caravan much honor with your presence. Greetings. Do you know me, perchance? Ouyang Changqing's eyes lit up with joy, it's only natural. My dad is the best in the northern lands, Ouyang Lingtian, and I am the best disciple in the northern lands, my name spread far and wide to every ear in the world. You must be filled with boundless gratitude and honor to have me paying you visit, he. What? Zhuo Fan gave a bitter smile, noticing Bali Yu's smirk. The best disciple is indeed a true pompous fool, all right, the worst of them all in fact. Ha, sure, young Master Ouyang's grand name has us all in awe. You're too kind even if it's true, ha. Ouyang Changqing puffed up and laughed as he entered, you're all merchants here and not just pretending, right? Zhuo Fan knew where he was going but also knew his unstable character, so he smiled without fear. Young Master Ouyang, that's a good one, ha. She must be the madam, but what about the child? Did you throw her away since she isn't yours? Ha ha ha. Getting no rise out of Zhuo Fan, Ouyang Changqing ramped up his questioning, bordering provocation. Everyone's faces fell and turned to Zhuo Fan. This was an attempt to provoke their emotions. Any parent would be outraged, with even a flatterer would be offended, while a suspicious person would try and remain calm. It was this difference in reactions that determined whether there was something off or not about the target. Being overly angry wouldn't do since they were merchants and shouldn't offend some big sect's disciple. While too calm was also out of the question, as it showed everything was a mere act. While Ouyang Changqing was scanning their faces for any clue that gave them away, he heard a cursing coming from another room. You damn brat, you're the fake son here. You came here to talk rubbish, is that it? Well, my dad is going to kick you out. Chower burst out and snapped at Ouyang Changqing in anger. Hey, where are her manners? Didn't your parents teach you anything? Please don't get angry. I've always spoiled her. Children speak all kinds of crazy things, ha. Ouyang Changqing's face twitched, being talked back to by a child. Zhuo Fan apologized then shouted at Chower, what are you doing here? Get back inside. Chower huffed and stormed inside, with Bali Yu slipping a sneaky thumbs up. Ouyang Changqing took a deep breath, annoyed still. He came here to check them and barely got any words out as a damn brat started cursing at him. Is the child suspicious too? Was all that an act? Nah, what does a brat know? Ignoring all that, having gone through that disturbing event, Ouyang Changqing chose to give up on testing the married couple, now taking a different approach. But then a familiar shout called to him from outside, Ouyang Changqing, get out here this instant. We're not done with yesterday's fight. That sounds awfully familiar. Zhuofan frowned, while Ouyang Changqing rolled his eyes and walked outside. Yenemo, among Western Lands juniors you're among the best, so you should at least act like it. Yesterday I sparred with you but you still want more? Have you no shame coming after me again? Can it? We've fought just once and you're already calling yourself the best disciple in the 5 lands? That you stomped on the Western Lands? Where's your dignity? Another shout came from outside, this time filled with rage. Zhuofan jerked. Yenemo? People from Western Lands are here as well? Oh crap, I can't let them see me. Zhuofan gave the others a grave look and pointed at his face, then outside with a shake of his head. They shrugged, stuck as well. Ouyang Changqing, close by, had yet to notice Zhuofan's reaction, still nagging with Yenemo outside. Now you're saying that defeating you isn't defeating Western Lands? When I asked if you represented Western Lands in our fight yesterday, you were pretty smug calling yourself the strongest in Western Lands. Now that you lost you no longer represent your home? And? Yenemo sneered, always striving to be the best. I finally got a good fight, so how can I just let it pass me? Anyway, since I know that I'll be the best in Western Lands sooner or later, that's enough. But then you, the son of the best in Northern Lands, had to go around all smug as you declared yourself winner over Western Lands after one fight. Have you no shame? You're the shameless one, bragging to my face like that. Ouyang Changqing's face twitched, lost for words. Chapter 10:16, The Fight for Strongest Disciples. Chapter 10:16, The Fight for Strongest Disciple. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. A sudden figure landed next to Yenemo, who looked at Ouyang Changqing with a smile. Brother Ouyang, is it? I've heard of your matter from Brother Yenemo, and while he thirsts for battle, his conceit is his fault, but Brother Ouyang taunted him to fight, and after you won you proclaimed yourself to have beaten Western Land's disciple, leaving us with no self-respect. That's not very gentlemanlike. We've been invited to Northern Lands and to lend a hand as well, but to use us to make a name for yourself isn't right. How so? I at least am not like you, prancing around falsehoods, calling yourself the best in Western Lands when you have nothing to show for it. You got me excited about beating you for nothing. Besides, I am the best disciple in the Northern Lands and don't need you to be well known. Humph, ridiculous. Ouyang Changqing mocked, and who are you anyway? The newcomer cupped his hands. I am Wu Qingqiu from Ultimate Clarity sect of Western Lands. I have learned with Brother Yenemo in the Double Dragon manner, becoming fellow disciples. Zhuofan's heart jumped, while his face looked frozen. Even Wu Qingqiu is here. Western Lands really plan on helping Northern Lands, or is it to let these kids gain experience? Won't that mean she is also? Zhuofan's heart seized, alarmed. Wu Qingqiu, a disciple from Double Dragon Manor as well. Not even seeing Zhuofan's wince, Ouyang Changqing sized Wu Qingqiu up and asked, I know the status of Double Dragon Manor in Western Lands, and any that enter are talented people. I can't help but wonder how you fare compared to Yenemo here? Wu Qingqiu smiled. There's not much difference between us, we're sparring partners. He's a third stronger than me and I have yet to beat him once. Yenemo sighed and pointed at Wu Qingqiu, not ashamed to reveal his losses. Ouyang Changqing nodded. I see, so you're the true best disciple in Western Lands. I understand now why you came so late to Northern Lands, to save the best for last. Oh no, young Master Ouyang, you got it all wrong. No, I don't. Yenemo came 10 days ago, but I understand his character, arrogant and overbearing. Even when I defeated him yesterday he still wouldn't surrender, a real man. Giving a thumbs up of praise to Yenmo's perseverance, Ouyang Changqing turned to Wu Qingqiu. But now that he says so much about you, I come to realize that he truly accepts you as stronger. For someone like him to do that, then it can only mean that you have to be the best disciple in Western Lands. Wu Qingqiu shook his head. Young Master Ouyang, you're still missing the point. There's no need for explanations. Didn't you come today to get your brother's confidence back? Ouyang Changqing cut him off, puffing his chest and declaring, Fine, this afternoon I'll meet you on stage. The first disciple in Western lands versus the first disciple in Northern lands will fight to see who is the strongest disciple in the lands, and the future best in the lands. If I lose, I will take my words from yesterday's fight back in front of everyone. But if you lose, then you'll have to admit that the Western lands juniors have fallen at my feet. But this time, you're not going to say you were also putting up a tough front and aren't the best in Western lands either, right? Wu Qingqiu gave him a long look, then showed a cold smile. Fine, since young master said so much, backing down now will make me look afraid. Then this afternoon, we will fight in the arena on the Mid-Heaven Island. Not Mid-Heaven Island, but beneath Heaven Island stage. Ouyang Changqing raised his head high. That is where everyone in the sect can come witness our fight. Or you don't want people to see the battle of the strongest. With all those sharp eyes on us, no one can play dumb on the outcome. Wu Qingqiu's face twitched and nodded. Fine, since Brother Ouyang has a penchant for fame, we will oblige. Though, young master, the higher you aim, the harder the fall from grace, especially from such a big stage. I have always been triumphant in all my pursuits, showered in applause and the crowd's reverence. I don't know the meaning of falling. Flicking his silky hair away, Ouyang Changqing mocked, Brother Wu, you're best worried about yourself, lest you fail miserably. Wu Qingqiu squinted and cupped his hand as he shouted, Goodbye. He took Yan Mo away with heavy steps. Watching them go, Ouyang Changqing turned back and came inside Zhuofan's home. Hear that? I just received a challenge to fight with the Western lands for the best in the world. I don't have time to waste on you and need to tell all my fellow disciples to come see me fight. Oh, of course, talented young Master Ouyang is bound to be victorious, haha. Zhuofan beamed, easing his tense nerves. Great, now this fool is finally leaving. That should at least give me peace and quiet for today. Since Ling Yuntian had sent this kid to look into them and had yet to show results, he couldn't attack them just yet. And since the plan was to move tonight, their odds were looking good. A true Central Area spy wouldn't have acted so soon, but Zhuofan's team was doing it to turn things around and catch them off guard. Zhuofan gave the others a look, who smiled and nodded in return. His joy was short-lived as Ouyang Changqing paused. Also, Steward Qian, bring your group over this afternoon to watch me crush Western lands. You can't miss it. Zhuofan looked conflicted. Young Master Ouyang, we've come a long way and aren't even part of the sect. It's best that we don't interfere in the sect and Western lands disciples' conflict. You're too polite. With your group traveling so much, it's rare for you to come to our sect. It's my duty to entertain you guys. We could never impose on the young master's grand hospitality. And we also like peace and quiet, not a fan of bloody fights. Those brutal competitions are. They say merchants know how to read people, so why don't you get it yet? Ouyang Changqing stomped and snapped at them. You're a merchant traveling the lands, gathering information, or better yet, bearing information. I want you to witness the fight so you can spread my heroism to others. So that everyone would know of my feats, of defeating the best disciple in Western lands and soon to become the best disciple in all the lands. If only our disciples know this and spread it around, they'll say we're insidious and conceited. What would be the point of today's win then? Zhuofan jerked, giving him a long look and a nod. Oh, right, young master has such foresight, thinking of the people and their opinions. You're a true man of valor, the greatest in northern lands. Just the best. Totally, but this isn't bragging, just the facts. Greatness can never be hidden no matter how modest you are. Like myself, a genius of unparalleled talent, it would be a huge loss for humanity not to let everyone know of my true value. Flicking his silky hair once more, Ouyang Changqing had a look of utter pride plastered on his face, then patted Zhuofan's shoulder. Come early this afternoon, or I'll send someone for you instead. I'm not to blame if they're a bit rough compared to me with their invitation. Some people just don't know a good thing when they see it, so petty. Zhuofan grimaced as he gave a helpless nod. This damn pompous fool only knows how to brag. I really want to punch him in the face. Oblivious to the others' thoughts, Ouyang Changqing left in glee. I'll notify Sister Shui of this fight right away. She wasn't there at my fight with Yan Mo and had missed my greatest moments. But now she's definitely going to see everything. Zhuofan sighed as he left, then turned to the others. I hate his type the most, so impulsive and conceited. They always have a knack of messing things up. Only the heavens know what the hell is going on in that mushy brain of theirs. Goes to show something always goes wrong. You may be able to talk your way out of trouble with the older and cunning seniors, but come short when dealing with brats. Bali Yu smirked. Zhuo Fan shook his head. This punk only wants to make it big to get as many eyes as possible on him. With there being so many of us, having a couple less won't be noticed. Also, with his obnoxious attitude, he's definitely going to blow this simple match out of proportions. This will lax the guard and give us the perfect chance. You don't need to come to the fight. You'll be scouting out beyond Heaven Island, especially Heaven Sealing Sword's location. You only have that afternoon to get a grasp of the place, moving in once night falls. As for the rest of you, the minute the punk finishes the match, rush to the exit of the sect and get ready to leave? Got that? Crystal? Everyone shouted with solemn looks. Bali Yuyu showed an awfully cheerful smile watching him plan. Chapter 1017, Herc. Chapter 1017, Her. Proofreader, Papatonks. Senior brother. Senior brother. On that sunny afternoon, what should have held a measly 10,000 disciples, the stage on Beneath Heaven Island was packed with over 5 times that. There were fervent faces anywhere one looked, holding out 2 spiritual weapons and clanging them together in an unhealthy cheer for the one and only Ouyang Changqing. Zhuo Fan wore an eagle mask as he looked around the literal mob, shouting in one voice, bursting his eardrums, and his only reaction was his twitching face. The fool is the master of the stage. Just the mood alone is enough to bore down on the Western Lands group. Ha ha ha, with this being the Sun Sea Bright Sect's home, Ouyang Changqing is like the big bad boss. A guard next to him nodded. Zhuo Fan mocked, while true this is clearly overdoing it. Sometimes, the more you hype it the more it makes you look like a thug who's overcompensating for something. Even if he wins now, it'll have the vibe of having gotten his way and not that of the modest man striving to do better. In the end, youth is impulsive. Sir, you sound like a droning senile. Another guard teased. Zhuo Fan sighed. It's called experience that ages the mind and reins in the raging hormones of youth. But this is how youth should be, rash and crazy. To stand out, one must copy Ouyang Changqing here, to grow wings, to pave their future, and to be oblivious to the dangers of the world. He only wants to excel, disregarding anyone and anything, making him very susceptible to a crooked and deceptive path. As for the old, they have too many things and take measured steps forward lest they lose it all. This brings about a tranquility to them. While youth is easy prey to deception due to their ignorance, the shrewd seniors have their cautious possess them. Being afraid to lose anything, taking hold of just a bit will gain control of them. Thank you, sir, for these words of wisdom. The guard bowed. I see sir acting with force and also making leaps forward. I wonder in which category sir falls? Zhuo Fan chuckled. Old, haha, I'm an old demon through and through. If so, sir, I see nothing that could make you relinquish control. That's because I'm hiding it well out of sight of any prying eyes. Showing my weakness will be no different than presenting my neck. Many oldies notice, but I do it particularly well. Haha, are you guys planning something for me? No, never, we only listen to the second young master's words. Sir is wise beyond your years and we're lucky to hear your guidance. The guard bowed again. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Wu Randong had gone through a hard time and wants revenge, which means he doesn't trust anyone. He had you follow me to find out about me, didn't he? Though I don't mind. If I can't even hide my secrets from you guys, an oldie like me is better off retiring while he's ahead. Sir, we would never. Everyone bowed. Zhuo Fan didn't mind it, his eyes flashing. Ouyang Changqing finally appeared before them, looking startled at Zhuo Fan's mask. Steward Qian, what's with the new look? Haha, young Master Ouyang, I'm just playing with my daughter and lost. Now she made me wear this ugly mask for the day. Zhuo Fan pointed at Qiaoer as he said. Ouyang Changqing gave him a long look then mocked. Why take any game with a child seriously? Having come to my grand performance, you ought to cheer for me. You're only making others laugh with that childish mask. You better take it off. Ouyang Changqing reached for it. Hands off. Father promised me. If you don't like it, shoo. Qiaoer shouted, stepping between them. Zhuo Fan dodged as well with a smile. Forgive me, young master, I have given my word. I am a father that needs to set an example for my child. Oh, Steward Qian is a great father, putting parenting first. Ouyang Changqing gave a nod of admiration. It takes me back to my own father, who also used to coax me in my childhood, saying he'd let me ride his shoulders. And later? There is no later. He lied to me, never holding his word all these years. Ouyang Changqing gave a long sigh. That's why I hate liars the most. Last night Yen Mo lied to me and today I'm going to give Western lands a lesson they won't soon forget. Zhuofan looked stunned then nodded. Oh, young Master Ruinag had such a sad childhood. It pains me to hear it. Yeah, I never told anyone about this. You're the first. Patting Zhuofan's shoulders, Ouyang Changqing glanced at Qiaoer then at him with seriousness. Promise me you will never lie to her. I will. Zhuofan gave a bitter smile. After giving him one last hopeful look, Ouyang Changqing left. Zhuofan found his attitude quite funny from where he was standing, commenting, every little devil has a painful past. No wonder Ouyang Changqing grew up parading himself. His father failed his promise in giving him a ride. How sad to be lied to by your dad all these years. Everyone lowered their heads. This pompous fool has yet to experience real pain. Ouyang Changqing has such style. A shout reached them that sounded familiar. Yen Mo and every elite disciple from Western lands made their appearance onto stage. There was also one particular person Zhuofan could not take his eyes off. Zhuofan shook all over and caught himself, his eyes laced with pain as he balled his fists and clenched his teeth. Everyone was taken aback by his reaction. What's wrong, sir? Zhuofan's eyes began to tear up. None of them had ever seen the ever-wise Zhuofan lose his cool. They looked ahead at the fluttering white veil and at the delicate figure hiding behind, shivering even from a light breeze. She only looked to be holding on thanks to the two girls attending to her. Ouyang Changqing puffed his chest and strutted before Western lands group among the deafening roars. Can't I invite some of my fellow disciples to watch my fight? Of course you can. Wu Qingqiu cut off Yen Mo's attempt to speak. It is your sect and it's in your right to have the fight between the strongest disciples of our lands witnessed. It's just that we have someone ill among us that the sudden excitement would be detrimental. Could I ask for your disciples to be a bit quieter? Ill? Ouyang Changqing glanced at the white veil and smirked. Her? Just why have you brought her anyway? Is this how you're helping our northern lands? 3 days ago, sect leader ordered me to go to your land and greet you, where I learned that you are bringing an ill person, frail and of vacant mind. Why is she even here? And now you're telling me a bit of noise will disturb her? Forgive us, her husband passed away 5 years ago and her mind has been lost since from the pain. We've tried everything, even pills, but it is out of our hands. Wu Qingqiu sighed and looked at the white veil in sadness. Her husband died in a huge explosion and now she can't stand loud noises, scaring her. But her husband was also a rare genius, his most notable battle being against the current best disciple in Western lands, Yilin. We hoped that by recreating that image would help her recover. Alas, few are those that can be on par with junior brother Yilin. Maybe young Master Ouyang might just be the one. So we brought her along with this hope in mind. Ouyang Changqing roared in anger. So you're taking this fight as medicine for a dumb woman? Do you have any idea how important this fight is to me? Yet you're just trying to use me, is that it? Of course not. I want you to fight the best disciple in Western lands, to establish yourself as the best disciple in the lands. We're only using this chance to save our junior sister. What is wrong with that? Wu Qingqiu stared Ouyang Changqing in the eye. Chapter 10:18, Of One Heart. Chapter 10:18, Of One Heart. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ouyang Changqing glared at them and roared, this isn't a play for you to enact, but a sacred competition. What is equally matched? I'm not about to throw the match over a demented woman just so you can have your act. Brothers, I want to hear you cheer. Senior brother. Senior brother. See, bright sect disciples exploded in an even bigger uproar, constantly clanging their spiritual weapons. The whole stage rumbled from the noise, and as it thundered in the lady's ears behind the white veil, it made her shiver in fright. The two girls helping her held her close to soothe her, their eyes filled with tears. Wu Qingqiu grew angry as he shouted back, Ouyang Changqing, you're a man coming from a respectable clan. Are you not aware that saving a life makes everything worth it? And we're allies as well. You can't even do this little effort? I will never give up no matter what, and I'll be damned if I'll play your little role you have for me, just over some crazy woman. A fake match won't deceive her. We've tried that already. Her mind might be lost but not her eyes. We only want to see the same power struggle we had in the Western lands back then. We think that only you can do it and don't need anything from you just to give your all. Is that too much to ask? Wu Qingqiu shouted at him. Ouyang Changqing flicked his head away, not willing to cave. Bam. A youth filled with savage aura stepped in Yilin. Glaring at Ouyang Chongqing, Yi Lin mocked, I have no interest in the fight between Western Lands and Northern Lands' strongest disciples. The only reason I even accepted fighting such a mundane guy like you is to help Sister Qingqing. But now, Humph, I think you're in need of a harsh lesson. You're far from ever being my match. You're the best disciple in Western Lands. Ouyang Chongqing squinted with a cold smile. Fine, come teach me then. If you're just another pretender, then I'll have Wu Qingqiu answer for it once I'm through with you. I don't care who calls himself the best disciple in Western Lands, I'll be finding him once I go through all of you. Senior Brothers Almighty. Senior Brothers Almighty. The roaring of the crowd once again exploded and Qingqing shuddered in the two girls' embrace from terror. Western Lands group gnashed its teeth with Yi Lin filled with murder. Why don't we take Qingqing back? She shouldn't be here and take this. Shui Ruohua, holding Chu Qingqing close, said with tears. The others gave a helpless nod. Since Ouyang Chongqing was so against it, staying here would only hurt her more. But this bastard Ouyang Chongqing has to be put in his place. Every one of them only felt rage and fury for this arrogant prick, wanting to beat him to a pulp. Ouyang Chongqing didn't care since this was his sect, his home, and he had the numbers if it came down to a brawl. As the two sides were at odds, one hand extended in front of Chu Qingqing's eyes as a man with an eagle mask spoke, Miss, it's much quieter where I'm staying. Would you care to sit with me? A fight between two lands' strongest disciples shouldn't be missed. Sorry sir, she needs peace and quiet. I'll take her back. Shui Ruohua gave him a look then an awkward smile as she refused. Ouyang Chongqing was annoyed. Steward Qian, why would you want that crazy woman around you? Also, I know I chose your seat specifically but it's not that quieter either. Once the fighting starts, it'll be bad for you when the crazy woman starts losing it. Hey, what did you say? Qingqing's mind is only vacant, not crazy. Say that again. Shui Ruohua snapped at him. The people around got enraged as well, judging by those glares. Zhuo Fan ignored it all and tearfully gazed at Chu Qingqing. It's really quiet there, believe me. You'll be safe. Sir, we appreciate the gesture, but Qingqing is too frightened and would never let strangers touch. A sudden chill took her then, noticing that the shivering Qingqing in her arms no longer shook as she calmed down. Her dainty hand even reached out, to the shock of all present, placing it in Zhuo Fan's wide hand. How is this possible? Shui Ruohua widened her eyes as she and the Western Lands group watched in disbelief. Chu Qingqing had lost her fame as a cold beauty ever since her husband passed away and her mind couldn't take it, few people approaching her. Afterward, she hardly met anyone, shunning almost anyone that approached, finding peace only around her two sisters. But today to this stranger she reached out on her own. Why? She's even scared of her acquaintances. Elder brother? Only Yi Lin knew Zhuo Fan to be alive and well. He muttered under his breath, watching the man with the eagle mask with a knowing gaze. Bro had been away for so many years. Now he's finally back. Holding Chu Qingqing's hand, Zhuo Fan led her to his spot, under the shock of everyone. With every step his heart bled. I left to spare her the pain, but now I see that I hurt her the most. Was I wrong? Chu Qingqing's veil fluttered, hiding her face, like that of a child as she followed Zhuo Fan. Despite the uproar outside, her heart has found peace. The hand felt so familiar to her and it now became her world, knowing there was nothing to fear as long as she held it. Her mind was vacant and knew not who he was, nor the ones around her, but their hearts had once been one, something that would never change. Even without needing to see his face, his mere presence made her know by instinct that he was hers. And she his. Under the dumb looks of everyone, Zhuo Fan took Chu Qingqing to his seat in Bali Yuyu's place. Glancing at Qiaoer, Zhuo Fan said, Qiaoer, say hello to mother. Mother. Qiaoer could feel a rare warmth from Zhuo Fan's gaze and called out. The others looked at him and one guard sighed, Sir, we only knew you to be cunning and ruthless, but now we see there's a gentle side as well. But this also revealed to us your weakness. Zhuo Fan sighed a nod, Yeah, but she can never be my weakness because I'll always take her with me from now on. They will have to walk over my cold corpse before they can touch her. I will be her shield and as long as I stand no one can use her. Zhuo Fan looked at Chu Qingqing with hazy eyes, not knowing if she understood any of it. Her eyes were still vacant, her expression tranquil, like that of an infant sleeping. Only her hand shook slightly. Shui Ruohua and the others saw Chu Qingqing so at peace around a stranger they didn't know how to react. needing a moment to come to and go to her. Even so, they still couldn't tell who Zhuo Fan was since he had been dead to them for 5 years now. The guards knew how to act, and seeing the two girls looking after Chu Qingqing, they made way, standing with the other disciples to watch the fight. Now that the mental patient is taken care of, we can begin. But let me reiterate, I will not throw the fight. Ouyang Changqing shouted once more. At which the mob of disciples coming to cheer roared once more. Only this time, Chu Qingqing no longer shook in fear, holding to the lifeline, the hand that would give her peace. This only baffled Shui Ruohua. Yi Lin had a cold smile as he stood on stage, smirking at Ouyang Changqing. Then allow me to teach young master some manners. I'd hate to shame my elder brother for not taking care of my sister-in-law. Chapter 1019, You Know Me Best. Chapter 1019, You Know Me Best. Proofreader, Papatonks. Yi Lin and Ouyang Changqing stood on the wide stage, with the executives present doing their duty in erecting a barrier to isolate their fight. The loud and raving cheers cut off as well, unable to reach the two fighters. One is a great talent of Western Lands youth, the other is the best disciple in Northern Lands. I wonder how it will turn out. Aha, this'll be good. I put my money on Changqing. He's been training in heaven-sealing sword art since he was young, and he also had brother Ling Tian to nurture him all these years. While Double Dragon Manor trains the most elite disciples, they have lost the best period in life, starting too late. And with the loss of vaulting sword, the kid had no chance of learning of the vaulting sword art. The ending is obvious. That's too soon to tell. Yes, being trained early will help correct any bad habits that might form, but the way Western Lands selects its disciple is from their very best, with each having a specialty. After all, vaulting sword art's character is one of harmony. Western Lands does it so that every disciple gets to further amplify their strengths when they learn from the vaulting sword. It's the best way of training in the vaulting sword art and bring about the greatest talent ever seen. But their vaulting sword is lost. Be that as it may, I heard that the best disciple in Western Lands has such an outstanding talent that makes not learning the vaulting sword art a moot point. How reliable is that info? Now I'm really eager to see how far talent alone can get him against a disciple having learned from a divine sword. Ouyang Changqing did such a great job at spreading the news of his fight that, just like Zhuo Fan predicted, many elders from beyond Heaven Island came over as well. They hovered above with eager and hopeful eyes. Just like the roaring mob of disciples below, they were just as interested to see who the best disciple among these two was, but without all the fanaticism. Yi Lin took a deep breath, looking at Ouyang Changqing with a smirk and invitation. After you, lest people say I pick on the weak. You got some nerve acting all smug before me when you're only in the second layer of soul harmony stage. How in the world did you even get to be the first disciple with that kind of cultivation is anyone's guess. Ouyang Changqing mocked back, although focused on looking around the audience. Not here still? I even had to insist for 2 hours to get her to agree. Why isn't she here yet? Ouyang Changqing hesitated. Yi Lin's brow shook. Where are you looking? Scared? Get over yourself. I am a great 8th layer soul harmony stage expert. You must be dreaming if you think I'd be scared of someone in the 2nd layer. Ouyang Changqing huffed with disdain, but still scanned the crowd. Such a grand performance comes by rarely. You're turning all my effort and grand heroic performance into wasted effort with your absence, Sister Shui. Sister Shui, quick, it's about to start. Meanwhile, in another area, Shengguan Qingyan kept pulling Murong Shui's arm, running over to the hustle and bustle heard for miles. Murong Shui rolled her eyes. It's just that pompous prick showing off. What are you getting all excited about? I know Ouyang Changqing is the best disciple in Northern Lands with hardly anyone lasting 5 strikes. But his opponent this time is the best disciple in Western Lands. Maybe it'll be a great fight for once. You don't want to see if there are such experts among our peers? Shengguan Qingyan had a very good reason, yet when she arrived at the show, her eyes were everywhere but the stage. She had even less interest in Ouyang Changqing's high-class act. The only reason she came was because she heard Zhuo Fan's group was here to cheer for him. So she thought of an excuse to get Murong Shui to come as well. Was she worried at all that maybe Murong Shui would figure Zhuo Fan out? Absolutely not. She believed Zhuo Fan had taken precautions since he chose to come here. And 2, once she spotted him, she'd dump Murong Shui and would shield him from anything. This way they'd also get close. What could possibly go wrong? Having run her plan countless times through her mind, No matter how shallow, she would have Murong Shui as an excuse when coming to the fight anyway. Murong Shui had no clue of her intentions. Beginning to assess the fight, Yenner, Ouyang Changqing is strong in the end. While he always carries himself with flair and idles away like a true pompous fool, his upbringing has been perfect. He had started seclusion with his father when he was 5, to understand the heaven-sealing sword art. Not even I can last more than 20 moves against him. Won't that mean the best disciple in Western lands is going to lose? Shengguan Qingyan giggled. Sister Shui is the strongest disciple in Southern lands, but for even you to say you're going to lose, won't that mean he has won over Southern lands' youth? While Eastern lands' strongest disciple was that cousin Yulin. Though even alive he wouldn't be a match to Sister Shui. That means Eastern lands lost as well. Which leaves Western lands, needing to defeat their best disciple to be the best disciple of the 4 lands. Murong Shui gave a helpless nod. Yeah, now you know why he blew this fight out of proportions? He's about to be the best disciple in the 4 lands, a very good reason to celebrate. And with Western lands being the last among the lands, their best disciple is definitely going to fall way short. Now the entire fight had turned into a spectacle for him to look good. That's why I don't feel like coming only to watch his obnoxious grin getting wider. Of course he's obnoxious. Shengguan Qingyan teased, it will go along with your promise. His win will make him the best disciple in the lands and give some credence to becoming the second invincible sword one day in the future. Murong Shui sneered, best in the lands? Second invincible sword? Ah, that's rich. Even if he wins against Western lands today, his winning streak will stop here. There's one among our peers he can never defeat. He has the highest chance of becoming the second invincible sword. Who? Shengguan Qingyan's brow shook, shouting eagerly. It can't be him, right? Murong Shui turned heavy as she spoke. Central Area Sword Star Empire's crown prince, Bailey Jingtian. Him? Yeah, just another Bailey. Murong Shui shook her head with a sigh. I've once gone to the central area and met with the prince on several occasions. The Bailey clan is truly incredible, filled with talents and in constant growth. I believe that even 100 years after Invincible Sword, that clan will shock the world with another incredible figure. At the very least, their top 10 princes are on par with the best disciples in the lands, with the first 4 being above us. I couldn't even last a blow against Bailey Jingtian. He's really the second coming of Invincible Sword. Shengguan Qingyan's eyes shook. We really are hopeless. Our homes will all be united under Sword Star Empire's tyranny, with everything destroyed. Yeah, their strength breeds fear and despair. Murong Shui sighed, looking desolate. It was Prime Minister Bailey Jingwei who set up the meeting with the princes. He was then looking to persuade my brother. That's why he put on such a display to intimidate us. I have to admit it worked. Seeing those princes' power and the immense potential of the Sword Star Empire made me realize with each passing day that we are on our last leg. While we are fighting over who's the best, the Sword Star Empire already took that title, rising to their glory. Maybe the next time the 4 lands would end up crushed under its power. That's why I feel Ouyang Changqing's fanfare and conceit as the best disciple in the 4 lands as empty words. Shengguan Qingyan nodded in understanding, sighing, Sister Shui has seen much, unlike us. Being so competitive and drunk on fame is truly childish. Sister Shui, you're here at last. I've waited ages for you. Ouyang Changqing's eager shout reached Murong Shui waving in excitement. Shengguan Qingyan and Murong Shui had a bitter smile and shook their heads. In such desperate times, he had the leisure to compete over who the best in the alliance was. It only helped to make his childish image in their minds more pronounced. Or to be more accurate, naive. Zhuofan tensed seeing Murong Shui here, lowering his head. Chu Qingqing reached out by herself and held Zhuofan's hand, gripping both of them tightly as if to console him. Although her eyes were still vacant. Sorry sir, she doesn't know what she's doing. Shui Ruohua startled at Chu Qingqing's action, wanting to take her hand back at once. It just wasn't proper to do that with a stranger, especially a man. They'd really take her for a crazy woman. Zhuofan stopped her, sighing as he gazed into Chu Qingqing's deep and vacant eyes. After all these years, you know me best. Chapter 1020, Tide. Chapter 1020, Tide. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sir. Shui Ruohua shook at Zhuofan's words. Have you met Qingqing before? With Chu Qingqing's vacant mind, she would usually avoid anyone who got close. except in this man's case she actually took initiative. What was even more baffling, no acquaintance could achieve this, not as easily as this man. It could only mean that he had to be a very close friend to Qingqing, closer than even her fellow sisters. Zhuo Fan said, "You could say we are close, but I just can't believe that after all these years she became like this." "I see, sir must be an old friend of Qingqing." Shui Ruohua nodded and sighed inside. Life is in constant change and Qingqing has suffered so much these years. When her husband passed Shui Ruohua was filled with grief, speaking of Chu Qingqing's matters these years, though it felt more like using a shoulder to cry on. Zhuo Fan listened quietly about his loving wife's troubles, with each word stabbing his heart. The sorrow he felt for her brought him to tears. But he gnashed his teeth and bore through them, forcing those bitter tears to be buried in his heart. The others listened in on the hardships and lowered their heads as they glanced at Zhuo Fan. The stage was drowned in shouts and roars of the crowd, with only this small corner at peace. The pain and sorrow overwhelmed everyone for a long time. Chu Qingqing had flinched now and then at Shui Ruohua's retelling, slowly leaning on Zhuo Fan's shoulder. Zhuo Fan could no longer stop the tears falling down in waves. In all these years as her husband, only now could he lend his shoulder to his weary wife. He felt pain like no other in all his lives. The crowd was too busy hollering and shouting to pay any attention to their pain. Their eyes bloodshot while watching the stage with fervent joy and thirst for a good fight. Yi Lin's knuckles crackled as he stared hard at Ouyang Changqing. "You almost had me for a second there, when you bastard said you didn't want Sister Qingqing to disturb you. But now I see you went to such lengths to set the stage all to show off to a woman. You're a real piece of work. You'd rather show off to some cheap broad than save a life. I vow on my name as a sacred beast inheritor that I'll put you in your place here and now." "Hey, who the hell are you calling cheap? For insulting the woman of my dreams, I will make you pay." Ouyang Changqing cursed back. He exploded with power in a blue glow, cold and thick, giving off a choking feeling under its pressure. The barrier around the stage was unable to contain it, sending the terrifying aura into the crowd. The power of the heaven-sealing sword Ouyang Changqing had been training in for many years now. "Oh!" The disciples clapped and jumped. "That's our senior brother Changqing. He has the power to be the best of the best." Yi Lin didn't look remotely impressed. Shaking a bit and unleashing a draconic roar from within his flames soared. The golden flames swallowed his body, releasing a searing heat felt by even those outside the stage. It was so bad that the tiles began to buckle and warp under the strain. As for the stage, it split in two, half belonging to Ouyang Changqing's icy heaven-sealing domain, while the other half was Yi Lin's and his blistering decimating golden flame. The two had unleashed their powers and were at an impasse. The audience gasped, too overwhelmed with amazement to keep shouting Ouyang Changqing's name. They came here thinking it would be a short fight like all till now, with Ouyang Changqing reigning supreme like always. Now, however, they were met with a standstill, at least from Aura's standpoint. Silence dominated for once, with faint whispers being heard now and then. None expected a peer of theirs would finally rise that could stand up to Ouyang Changqing's power. This was bound to be an awesome fight. The oldies spectating were taken aback as well, smiling and nodding. The best disciple in Western lands lives up to his name. The fight is going to last a while, haha. Shengguan Qingyan pulled at Murong Shui in all her excitement. "Sister Shui, it's nothing like you said. Ouyang Changqing might not win this one." "Oh, it does seem like it." Murong Shui was stunned as well. "I would never guess the dry Western lands of talent would give birth to such an outstanding man." Shengguan Qingyan looked smug. "What do you think of my Zhuo Fan then? He's from Western lands too." However, Murong Shui smirked. "Their display only proved their training is the same, but not who wins. It will solely rest on the skills, cultivation method and attacks. Ouyang Changqing is the son of the strongest in northern lands, Ouyang Lingtian. Such things are nothing for him, but as for that Western lands kid..." Shengguan Qingyan grinned. "We'll just have to wait and see." Murong Shui looked interested for a change, her eyes no longer flat but having a spark of curiosity. Face twitching, Ouyang Changqing looked at his opponent having matched him in aura and frowned. He glanced at Murong Shui then at Yi Lin and clenched his fists. "I've underestimated you, boy. You're nothing like everyone I fought so far. Curses, this fight may not be the show I wanted, but since Sister Shui is watching, I'm not going to let it disappoint. Speed is of the essence. I'm going to finish him off before he gets any chance to fight back and drag things on. It will only make me look like a fool. I had ignored my adversaries so far, but not this one. The crux is Sister Shui is watching and I cannot let it show I'm sweating even a drop. Ouyang Changqing gnashed his teeth and shot for Yi Lin. Yi Lin laughed and met him halfway. You got the wrong guy if you think you can match me in a brawl. Bam. A shocking explosion echoed as the punch and kick collided. The powerful shockwave was so strong it even made the barrier tremble. The two jumped back to their place, but while Yi Lin stretched out his golden scale arm with a sinister smirk, Ouyang Changqing's leg was jerking, clearly in pain from holding it up. God damn it. Why's the punk's body so damn hard? Not even my heaven-sealing sword art strengthened body can match. Is he a monster? Ouyang Changqing gnashed his teeth and glanced at the stunned crowd. Senior brother actually came out at a disadvantage in the first exchange? Even the oldies were amazed. The Western Lands kid is great. I had never seen Changqing so distressed. For Western Lands to have such an amazing talent, it must be once in millennias. Another elder nodded. Western Lands is filled with talent that don't just stop with him, a sudden speaker said. The others flinched and gasped. Exalted He Ran, what are you doing here? Aren't you helping the Shangguan clan unseal the soaring sword? Why? That seal is not only strong but queer as well. We've been giving our very best for 3 days and 3 nights now yet still couldn't lift it. I came out for a breath of fresh air, letting old Bai have a go. Exalted He Ran gave a casual wave. The others bowed. Exalted He Ran is working hard. But what does Sir mean by that? You're saying Western Lands has more disciples like him? No way. That and then some. Then why is he the best? Because the strongest has died years ago. If he was alive, I dare say he'd become the second invincible sword. It would have given us hope of fighting the Central Area's ambition, but He Ran grew sullen as he sighed. The others were startled at the revelation but also skeptical. Is the old guy for real or mere bragging? Since when did Western Lands become a trove of talents? For even their second choice for best could push Northern Lands' best disciple. What does that say about the Western Lands' best? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.